Yeah, I learned to keep you muted during the intro video. That is one good thing that I picked up over our break.
Tradition, man. Tradition.
It's
a tradition. Got to do it. Got to sing.
Tradition my ass. Oh, my God. Oh, goodness. Good evening. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We are back. This is Apostate Radio. I am coming to you, Isaiah Carter. I'm coming to you live from the County of Kings, the People's Republic of Brooklyn, New York. And I'm also joined, as ever, by Mr. Nostra Chavez from the land of the beats.
Yes. Land of our beats.
Yes, we are back. We are quite excited to be with you tonight. Want to just get some housekeeping stuff out of the way. We want to thank you for joining us tonight. If you feel so inclined, you can support the show at buymeacoffee.com/apostate radio.
I got kids to feed. Come on, guys.
Yes, we got kids to feed. Well, you do.
I do. At least one. That we know about.
Yeah, that you know about. Oh God. And of course, you can follow the show at Apostate Radio New York, NY. So tonight is a big night for us. We have the phenom Miss Evan Barker joining us at 8:45. Will join our conversation. But tonight we have a very, very, very special guest coming to us from Tennessee, coming to us from the land of a lot of big things politically. We have a man who has taught hundreds of thousands, if not millions, about the evils of communism. A man who has shown many people what exactly we're up against in terms of through his many books and also his website, New Discourses. This man has written many books, including Race Marxism, and the Marxification. Why is this not adding? The Marxification of Education. He has also co-authored a very important book entitled The Queering of the American Child. With Logan Lansing. Shout out to Logan. How a new school religious cult poisons the minds and bodies of kids, of normal kids. I'm just going to be honest with you. This man is a hero of mine. And it is a true honor to have this gentleman on with us tonight. He is Dr. James Lindsay. Good day, sir.
Good evening, sirs.
Great to see you, man.
Yeah, you too.
It really is. I am not worthy of such an honor to have you on the show. I greatly appreciate it.
Yeah, it's a big honor, Dr. Really Lindsay.
Honor, man.
You guys are cool.
Okay, I call you Dr. Lindsay, or you're like, nah, don't call me that.
You can call me James. You're not a feminist.
You know me too well already, James.
Yeah, feminists have to call me Dr. Lindsay.
You know what? I'm all right with that. There you go.
Only feminists.
Yeah. Only feminists. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, man, what? So if I may ask you, for the benefit of our audience, sir, who are you, and what got you here? What brought you here? Like,
well, you asked me to be on the show.
I did.
It wasn't. You didn't just show up.
You sent me a DM, and I was like, okay. That's what got me here. No, I mean, you did a pretty good introduction of me. It's like a lot better than I thought. For everybody's benefit, you asked, how do I introduce you earlier? And I said, say whatever you want, which is not very much to go on. So I don't know. I'm an author. I'm a podcaster. I've written a bunch of books, like you already said, Queering of the American Child, Race Marxism, Cynical Theories, so on. Cynical Theories is technically a bestseller, so I guess I'm a best-selling author.
There you go.
And I don't know. I travel the world. I speak about communism. I might be the world's leading expert in the evolution of communism, Marxist ideology through the last 150, 180 years. And I don't know. I'm a normal, cool dude other than that.
Well, that you are. The reason why that's incredible. You also have a thing for urinating on Marx's grave.
Well, I did do that. Yeah, that was in November of 22 when I went to go do the Oxford Union thing. So the Oxford Union invited me to debate, has woke culture gone too far? Then they stuck me on the woke side. And I said that no, since I was on the woke side, woke culture has not gone too far. I had to disagree with the premise that woke culture has gone too far. So I said, no, it hasn't gone too far because it cannot go too far. As long as society's still standing, there's more woke to do.
Exactly.
And this poor girl sitting next to me, and she was really sweet. I mean, she's woke, so we're not supposed to be like too nice about that, but she was sweet. She sat next to me. I sit back down, and she's all like, that was the best defense of our views I've ever heard. And then she figured out that I was like totally pranking them, and she wasn't as happy about it. But yeah, I stopped by Marx's grave in Highgate Cemetery in London, and I didn't know what to do. Actually, these guys I was with wanted to like take pictures and make a video or some crap, and they wanted me to say something, and I didn't want to do it. So I kind of danced on his grave first, and then I kind of didn't know what to do. And I went through a bunch of pantomime stuff. And one of the pantomime things I did was pretend to piss on his grave for like 3 seconds, and somebody snapped a picture of it. Now, I spent a little more time pretending to piss on the gate to the United Nations in Geneva when I went there last summer. But I condemned it. I pissed on I used a water bottle. I think it's probably jail worthy in Switzerland to piss on a public thing.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to do that, but it's a funny video.
Wow.
I wouldn't really maybe wouldn't piss on somebody's grave, like for real. It's not because it's like, I respect Karl Marx, but it's like urinating in public is like some pretty shitty behavior.
Yeah.
Unless you really got to go. Yeah.
It's Karl Marx though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if it was,
there's
I
that
mean,
too.
if it's like a family member you hate, that or just like a random moment where like you're like far away from like the gatehouse at the cemetery, I get that, right? But if we're talking, but this is Karl Marx, bro. Come on.
Well, it is pretty far actually away from the gatehouse. But the thing is there's kind of always people there. There was this like, I don't remember, South American dude there who wanted to he was doing like all this like athletic acrobatic stuff, which was really weird. And he wanted us to take his picture. So I took his picture a bunch of times. Has no idea that I'm like super against it, but he's super into Marx and he's telling me how great communism is. And I just kind of listened to him. And it was kind of funny. And then this Chinese dude showed up and he had this like little airplane bottle sized bottle of Baijiu, which is Chinese liquor. And he like held it like arms straight out for like 10 minutes saluting the grave. Didn't say a word, didn't move. So, and there's like all these like gifts around the grave. Like one of them though was like Frankenbeans or something really weird. I didn't know what that was about. I guess that's all you get to eat when you're a communist.
Oh my God. Either that or bugs.
Yeah, bugs. It was all super weird, but anyway, it's a cool place to visit. If you get the chance and you're in London, you should go to Highgate and see the grave. Why they made such a big fuss about it, I'm not sure. That's not his original resting place. We went down and saw his original grave. And I forget when, in the 50s or something like that, they dug him up and moved him up to the kind of main walkway and made this huge statue with his head on it as his grave marker, where it used to just be this like little plaque on the ground, like here lies Karl Marx, who nobody ever gave a shit about. But the Brits like their Marx for some reason.
Really?
Well, I mean, we see what's happening now with London. I mean, Jesus Christ. Let's go. The stuff that's been going on over there over the last few years, like throughout the entire UK, has just been insane. I mean, I've never been to London. I know people, and I know guys who are from there, but I've never seen anything like what's happening. They're literally bringing in the third world, and I don't know if that's like, what is that in relation to the whole praxis of communism and, well, socialism, really? Like, what is the whole, how does that work? Like what does that represent in the grand scheme of Marxism?
Well, this is an onion we can peel for a little while. First thing to say, though, is Keir Starmer is a Fabian socialist. And not enough people have been paying attention to the Fabians, and people need to be paying attention to the Fabians. The Fabians are a subversive, infiltrating group of socialists as opposed to the revolutionary Marxists who want to have a bloody revolution. The Fabians never did. And so these Fabians argued back and forth with Lenin and Stalin about the correct strategy to implement a communist system. But their plan, this would have been like Sidney and Beatrice Webb, George Bernard Shaw were the kind of the original Fabians, and they had this idea of infiltrating the institutions. Literally, they kind of made the Long March to the Institutions model when they incorporated in 1884. So a lot longer ago than, I mean, the Russian Revolution was in 1917. So they had really this British socialism or English socialism had a big jump on the program, and they came out of this weird cult. I forgot what it was called. It's got a really funny name. It might actually be worth looking up what their original name was, because as soon as you hear it, you're like, oh, that's a cult. Maybe I can get this up real quick. But anyway, they incorporated in 1884, and there was an open question, in the middle of the 20th century. What would happen if these guys had the power of Stalin? And so this dude we all call George Orwell, whose real name was Eric Blair, wrote a book called 1984, Imagining a Century Goes By. Yeah, there you go. And so, it's called The Fellowship of the New Life. Like,
the
come
Fellowship
on.
of the New Life.
The Fabian Society was founded on 4 January 1884 in London as an offshoot of a society founded a year earlier called the Fellowship of the New Life, which had been a forebear of the British ethical and humanist movements. Anyway, Keir Starmer is a Fabian. If you want to know why Britain's going the direction that Britain's going so rapidly, is you have an open Fabian socialist in charge. We don't have to get into the whole Fabian thing, but the Frankfurt School guys, when Germany went to Hitler in 1933, they all fled Germany. They went to Switzerland, and then they somehow got hooked up to come over to American elite universities, starting with Columbia. And that was Fabians who made that happen. Particularly Annie Besant was in that plan to get the original Frankfurt School guys into the United States. So the Fabians were not inconsequential in dealing with everything that or bringing about everything we've got to deal with now. But what's going on with the importing of the third world? First of all, we got to mention straight up 2 things. One is the Cloward-Piven strategy.
Yes.
We're feeling all over the world. These are 2 socialists, Cloward and Piven, wrote down this strategy for how to basically undermine and bankrupt a country, to soften it up for a socialist revolution. And one of the pillars, I mean, some of them are to run up the national debt, which I think you can see we're doing. But other ones were to overwhelm social services. But one of the ways you overwhelm social services is also to flood the country with immigrants, especially low-income immigrants who have to go on the various social welfare programs. And so the point of that program is specifically to not only create cultural unrest, maybe import a proletariat and all that, but it's actually to overwhelm the financial system, the economic system of the country. Or I say overwhelm, undermine is really better, but the idea is to make the expenditures so high. And you guys up in New York obviously know, like, sticking these immigrants in the Roosevelt Hotel and filling out 5-star hotels with these people. This is expensive. Taking care of these people is expensive. Bringing them in was expensive. Getting them back out is expensive. That's all taxpayer money. It's a huge drain. So this is part of the Cloward-Piven strategy. Secondly, if we turn to the decolonization project, the Marxist that was in charge of laying out the theory for decolonization, aside from the Soviets, who had their own decolonization program that they ran on various ethnic minorities, was Frantz Fanon. And Frantz Fanon wrote The Wretched of the Earth. And Jean-Paul Sartre, another Marxist wrote the foreword to that book. And I always draw people that are interested in what's going on in Europe, and particularly to read the foreword to The Wretched of the Earth by Frantz Fanon, because Sartre in 30 some odd pages is long-winded for a foreword, but he's Sartre, so he's important. He lays out this huge explanation that all the people around the world that you colonized previously, Europe, they have every right to come and take it back. They're going to take back their own lands, and they're going to come and take back what you stole from them. And what he instructs is that these people are going to be violent. They're going to be crazy. They're going to murder you in order to reclaim not just their land and their property, but also their sense of humanity. There's a kind of a dialectical magic of returning to your full humanity through ritual murder. And what he advises is that Europe, go ahead and just lay it down. If you give it away, maybe they won't steal it from you and kill you in the process. And that's what Europe has done. I don't know why they decided to follow this program, but we can blame the Fabians. We can blame communism. We can blame a lot of things. We can blame the Cloward-Piven strategy. But ultimately what's going on, there's one program that we are all dealing with throughout the West. I mean, I guess there's a couple, but there's one program that we're all dealing with throughout the West called Koreanizatsiya from the Russians, which was a program instituted by Lenin and Stalin. It was cooked up by Stalin, before the Russian Revolution. Early in the Soviet Union through the 1920s, the two of these guys implement this program. Korini means roots. Koreanizatsiya means to put in roots. And so what you do is you go around to ethnic minority groups and you say, the great power that's ruling over you, maybe it's the Russians, maybe it's white supremacy culture, whatever it happens to be, maybe it's the colonizer, doesn't want you to be yourself. They want you to assimilate. They want to take you over. But the socialists, we believe in self-determination. We think you should be able to self-determine. We're going to help you. You already are more socialist than they are. They're capitalist. They're feudal. They don't respect your way of life, but we do. And we want to help you. And then what they did was elevated communists within the ranks of these ethnic minorities, and then put them into positions of power, brought them into the party Congress in Moscow, et cetera, et cetera.
They're still doing it.
No,
I'm sorry.
We call it DEI, brother.
Yeah, well, that's not even, and that's not even. I mean, not to cut you off.
No, yeah.
But not only are they doing it through DEI, and I've got a lot of opinions about DEI, because I was very intimately involved with someone within the DEI industrial complex. But what I'm learning is, now I'm learning more about like the infiltration of Marxism and the entire communist project in the church.
Oh yeah,
especially in the black church. I mean, shout to Chad Jackson, okay, who's a gentleman who has a channel of his own, who's been bringing a lot of attention to this. The black church in particular in the United States seems to be like ground zero, where where this infiltration of of the hood, of like the general spiritual health. Like, we've got like liberation theology, and even the prosperity gospel is a part of that. A big guy right now who's been involved in that is Jamal Bryant down in Atlanta, Georgia. I don't know if you've heard of him, but yeah, it's crazy how that's been working.
Yeah, well, that's the idea, cultural infiltration. And then what the socialists did, what the Soviets did, was they handpicked people who were going to be good socialists and put them in positions of power locally and centrally. And they took these people and let them propose crazy radical stuff. So this is like your Jasmine Crockett's and your AOC's and like whatever else, your Squad, Rashida Tlaib or whatever. And what happens if you disagree with them? Well, you're a sexist, or you're a racist, or you're a bigot of some kind or another. In Russia, they called it Great Russian Chauvinism. In China, they called it Han Chauvinism. And here they call it white supremacy. And you get these commissars who absolutely cannot be criticized. And so this is a program. So what are they doing in Europe? Well, they couldn't go around very easily to the various indigenous groups within Europe. I mean, not that these people get along super well, but they had to import a fully different ethnic enclave. And so North African and Middle Eastern Muslims became a completely separate ethnic enclave using the post-colonial and decolonialization program, using collaborative strategy to get them in and to pay for them. And then what they've done is created radicalizable cells saying, you know what? Well, we're going to have Sharia law. We don't have to, we don't have to, you guys don't have to assimilate into British culture or European cultures. You get to be you get to be who you are because we're tolerant, we're accepting. And look at Keir Starmer coming out today, basically saying a bunch of crap in Arabic and all this other junk. It's like, you think that they're giving their countries away, and in some sense they are giving part of the country away. I have a feeling the people in power, like Keir Starmer, do not actually plan on giving the country away. I have a feeling they, very much like Stalin, have the intention of creating a conflict that they'll eventually get to put down with brutal force, and to seize absolute power under the pretext of an emergency, which will probably be cheered along by an awful lot of people. Which is kind of a long-range disaster. So I don't think that what's going on over there is healthy at all. And everywhere I go, I hear this is happening. I hear it's happening. We see it in Canada, and I get told every time I talk about this, the Canadians like, that's what's happening here. I just got back from New Zealand. They're definitely doing it there with the Maori people. And I know they're doing it in Australia, the same program. I've been getting hit up, and I don't know why, but bless their hearts, by the Sardinians, and saying that this is happening in Sardinia. And they're playing the Italian left off the Sardinians, and there's the exact program. And I said, that sounds like Queen Apostate. And I went to explain it to this one guy the other day, and he was like, it's exactly Queen Apostate. And he wrote it out in the Russian. So I'm like, oh, he knows what he's talking about. And so this is the play. And what we call it in the West is DEI. And that gets us all to say, well, we need diversity and to be really inclusive for equity. And we're going to have tolerance and all this crap. And when we do that, we lay down our willingness to defend ourselves. And of course, all that leaves is idiotic radicals who are like, I love being white, to be able to come out as the sole apparent defenders of not, well, I mean, these guys are trying to defend the race like a bunch of wackos, but what actually needs to be defended are the values of the country. In the case of the United States, it's Constitution and the values that support it.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Nick. I know you've
so I just want to ask, I think it was a Queen Apostate, is that how you say it?
Yeah, Queen Apostate. You did way better at picking that up than I did.
Queen Apostate, yes.
Yeah, Queen Apostate, yeah.
So okay.
I had to practice for like an hour. Screw me down.
I guess I got a good ear, but I appreciate that. So
when you live in Brooklyn, you get some practice, in some Russian. You know what I mean?
I just talked to a Russian guy. I was in New York, and I talked to a Russian guy the other day, and I asked him about this word, and he was like, how would you say this is very bourgeois word? No normal Russian use this word. Programmed by Stalin. Not so good.
Fuck. Wow.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah.
Wow.
So I spent some time in Brighton Beach, Isaiah. So I know.
I almost
dated a few girls
rented
over
an
there, actually.
apartment down there.
Yeah.
I almost did.
It's just out of the way.
It's the edge of the fucking planet. What are you talking about?
Yeah,
Go ahead, Nick. I'm sorry.
So no. So Queen Apostate. It was so that sounds like these routes you're planning. Is this what Yuri Bezmenov was talking about, or is this something separate?
That would be a good question to go investigate. I haven't gone back since I learned about this and watched Bezmenov to put the pieces together, because he's talking about ideological subversion. What I would say is that Queen Apostate is a means to an end where ideological subversion can be achieved that way. For example, under the program of Queen Apostate in the United States, I would say directly derivative to that is culturally responsive or culturally sensitive teaching. So the educational model that uses the so-called other CRT, culturally relevant, culturally responsive, or whatever, they change the name every 3 days. We're teaching CRT, the other white meat or whatever. That program is designed to do this. So look at what it does, right? It goes into the school and it tells, I want to say ethnic minority, but I don't want people to get it wrong. It doesn't just mean racial minorities, because gay kids count as an ethnic enclave themselves. I don't know if gay kid is even a good word to use because kids shouldn't be sexualized, but kids
Exactly.
who are trending in that direction, let's just call it that way. And so sexual and gender minority kids, as it happens to be described in the current literature or whatever, or parlance, these kids count as an ethnic enclave as well. They have their own. Why do you think they talk with their little affectation that we can all do? We all know that it's a put on. You don't have to do it in the fucking elevator. We know it's fake. We know it's fake. Anyway,
Wait, what? Wait, hold on. What affect are you talking about?
the gay one.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean like this
Oh,
one?
Isaiah.
This?
Yeah, the one like when you talk normally. I'm just kidding.
Oh shoot! No.
Oh shit.
Yeah, you're. You know what? I've heard. Ooh, God.
No, it's fake.
You're a man
Anyway,
after my own heart, James. I have to
it's
say.
fake. It's fake.
Yeah.
No child grows up talking like that. Anyway,
Like it's giving Gemini energy, and I don't
Yeah,
get
you
the
see-
upward inflections and all of that.
you
Yeah,
got it. You're better at this than I am. So anyway, these are all ethnic enclaves. And so what the point of culturally responsive teaching is to come into these different ethnic minority positions, which also includes girls, by the way, under feminism, and to start feeding them the line. You get to have your own culture. You get to have your own accents. You get to do stuff. We're going to understand Black History Month, Women's History Month, which is what it is now. This is all part of that program. We're going to make you different. We're going to make you special. We're going to talk about you. We're going to make it all about this, make it all about that. And the idea is to raise up this idea that it's different and separate from the prevailing, whatever the power structure is in culture, white supremacy, patriarchy, heteronormativity, cisnormativity, if we even dare to use that stupid word. The idea is that you're going to teach these kids by being culturally sensitive and culturally relevant and culturally competent that these are fundamentally different cultures. And then what do? You feed them DEI programming, CRT, feminism, queer theory through that programming, so that what you're actually doing is bringing in the Marxist ideology in one identity form or another through the prospect. There's not an intrinsic problem with, say, Black History Month, except that it paints this picture that, we got to set aside February for that because nobody cares about it for the other 11 months. And so that raises a question, why doesn't anybody care about it for the other 11 months? And you can say, well, because white supremacy or whatever. And you can start doing the whole conflict theory right there. And so it all just turns into open doors to be able to feed the Marxist theory. And at which point you are raising up a radical enclave that is going to be able to be a source to hand pick. And we do this primarily at the college and career kind of entrance pathways right now. You got to fill out your DEI statement to go to college. You got to fill out another one to go to grad school. You got to fill out another one to go to law school. You got to fill out another one to get a job. And that's checking to see who's adopted enough of the ideology to be allowed through the gates of society at different levels. And that's the Koreanizatia program that's just been made to look like it. That's right. That's right. It facilitates this entryism. And so this is what's happening whether this is happening, with Bezdomov. Bezdomov is talking about education, and he says, you go through education, you pump their soft heads full of nonsense. It doesn't matter what you teach, but it's ideal if you can be teaching
several generations.
That's right. Marxism, Leninism straight into their little heads.
Yeah.
And this is all Marxist conflict theory, even if it's not an economic Marxist conflict theory. They may not be able to convince the kids on socialism yet, but they're all pretty warm to it, so they must be doing it somewhere. But they can get them on the conflict across these axes of identity, and then come around later and say those are co-constituted, or some fancy theoretical word, with capitalism versus socialism.
There's something that you're bringing up, and I find this to be one of the biggest reasons why you can't call communism an economic theory. You've been big on this, where you've said that communism is a cult, it is a religion. Okay. The hyper fixation on children and pumping this shit into children's heads over the course of many years and stuff like that. That is one way that that this is a cult. This is a reprogramming, a returning of of religion. We're going from the outwardly directed religion of Judeo-Christian values, what this country was indeed founded upon. Okay, the Constitution is full of references to such. And now we're being redirected through the long march through the institutions and all the rest. We are being redirected into an inwardly directed religion, which communism and socialism is, the way I see it, it is the outward manifestation of the narcissistic impulses, the religious impulses in someone's heart. Okay, what I say is that communism is a religion of the self made manifest by the state. I mean, does that track with what you experienced, what you've studied?
Yeah, I mean that actually makes sense. Of course, the trick is everybody's supposed to be on board with the same program, and you have this external totalitarian object that you're supposed to you don't really worship the state in communism, although that's what happens in practice. But it's not the intention. What you actually are focused on is the self. The whole point, I mean, that's the way that it works, but the whole point is supposed to be the transformation of yourself out of believing in private property as human self-estrangement. So you're supposed to overcome your attachment to private property, which sounds kind of Buddhist. So it's a very inward focused program there. You're also supposed to beat the shit out of your neighbor because he's not doing it well enough, which is the outward facing puritanical element of it. Everybody knows that they're not believing well enough, according to Robert Lifton. So they accuse everybody else of being the failure. So nobody notices that they are. But the idea is
kind of
actually
kind of like what we were dealing with during COVID.
Yeah, of course. But
you
the
can't.
deal is that
other people, everyone else isn't taking the vaccine, so that means you can't go out and get some fresh air. You
Yeah, that's
can't
right.
go to dinner because these people won't get the shot.
That's
Go ahead,
right.
I'm sorry.
So you have like whatever percentage of the population's immunocompromised or whatever. So now we all have to like bend around whatever that even means with this particular virus. Or Karl Marx doesn't want to get a job, so we're going to create an economic system where nobody has to have a job and everybody just pays for everybody else's stuff through labor. And then you say, well, how's that supposed to work, Karl? And he's like, well, eventually we all transform religiously to not believe in private property, so we all do the work because it becomes part of what we want to do just to be getting along. But in the meantime, we're going to set up a program. And if you read chapter 1 of the Communist Manifesto, he says, well, you've got these two classes in society that fundamentally characterize how society works, and they're in conflict. You have the bourgeoisie that's stealing everything, and they don't even know that they're stealing everything. And you got the proletariat who's working all the time, building everything, and is being robbed for it. So obviously the proletariat is the location of the revolutionary force, because they're the ones who actually understand society. And this is going to be the key. But then in chapter 2, he says there's a relationship also between the communists and the proletariat. There's a relationship between them. And naturally that relationship is that the communists understand the trajectory that society is supposed to go on. So they naturally need to lead the proletariat. And then who's at the top of the Communist Party while Karl Marx is writing this? Well, Karl Marx. And so the whole program is really that Karl Marx is cooking the books so that he gets to be the king of everything, and everybody's going to serve him. And yeah, so it's like that.
Yeah.
But the thing is, at the heart of it, and this is what you're kind of asking about, I think, at the heart of it is this belief, and this transcends whether it's woke right, woke left, Marxist, whatever, fascist. This is at the heart of it. The very heart of it is that what makes you awake, what brings you into consciousness, whether it's class consciousness, critical consciousness, feminist consciousness, race consciousness, whatever, what brings you into consciousness is that you suffer. And so you're supposed to focus on how you're not getting what you're supposed to get, and it's everybody else's fault, right? With that, I guess he'll catch back up. You're not getting what you're supposed to get, and it's everybody else's fault. And that's the intrinsic key to how this whole stupid system works. You are focused on yourself and blaming everybody else for the fact that you're not getting yours. And that's inherently, you just missed the whole thing, I think, maybe, but this inherently.
I heard everything you said.
Okay, great. That's inherently narcissistic, right? And so they call it double consciousness. That phrase actually came from W.E.B. Du Bois in The Souls of Black Folk that he wrote in 1903, where he said basically that the idea of being an oppressed minority within a society, you understand the principles of the majority society, but you also understand what it's like to be oppressed. So you have two aspects of consciousness. This goes on under the feminist to be called standpoint theory or standpoint epistemology.
Yeah.
But what puts you in the standpoint of having an enlightened epistemological frame, that is to say, woke, what puts you in the woke standpoint is that you suffer. And Karl Marx is explicit about that. He says it's the suffering of the proletariat that awakens him. And so the fact that you suffer under an unfair system gives you the absolute and unchallengeable right in this program to rule over others. So there's your narcissism, Isaiah. You suffer, you focus on your suffering, you get pissed off, and you get to blame everybody else, and you have the absolute right to rule based on it. And that's how woke works for every system. Like I said, woke left, woke right, feminist, race, economics, doesn't matter.
Somebody tell these people that suffering is unavoidable in life. You know, like it's like, how are you blaming this on anybody? Like, you could be the most coddled, genetically superior, beautiful, privileged person on earth. You're still going to suffer a lot in life, regardless. Even if you make all the right decisions, you're still going to suffer in life. So it's really ridiculous.
It's rather than suffering being a growth opportunity, which creates a positive sum outcome because people are upping their game in response to the challenges they're facing. What they're trying to do is use suffering as an excuse for them to get to throw a big fit and be in charge.
Exactly.
And so it's like a toddler philosophy, or as you said, a narcissist philosophy, because all of these psychodynamics like narcissism and borderline personality and so on are all disorders of psychological development. They're all
James,
stunted.
I just want to ask you, because this goes along with your book. I just finished or almost finished reading The Marxification of Education, right? And it seems like it kind of coincides what you just talked about with the transformative SEL and the data mining of children and the thought reform brainwashing techniques of so basically, if I understand this correctly, the kids, you take these kids in the classroom and you kind of show them either somebody else's suffering, or you take whatever suffering they have in their life or something like that, and then you kind of figure out a way to use that to bring them into the cult, basically, really, right? It's like it's a theology. It's a Freudian, Marxist theology.
Well, yeah, it comes straight out of liberation theology, actually, which was like they took Christianity and put people's heavy emphasis in South America, focusing on the favelas, on the slums, and the suffering in the slums, and the suffering of the indigenous people under colonization, and the suffering of the poor, which is, was and still is in many ways absolutely abject and horrible, and also very strongly what do they call it? Relative privation. You have very, very, very poor people living literally right next to a walled-in estate of very, very rich people. Yeah. So people are very aware of it. And so they took that. And what they did was the goal of Paulo Freire, which was borrowing from liberation theology, was to use this as a mission to the poor. And to use these conditions, and he created an educational system. He claimed it was a literacy program, that the idea would be that you'd get these kids engaged in, or actually he was teaching mostly adults, so I shouldn't say kids. You'd get learners engaged in wanting to learn to read by showing them how important the words are, and you would use words like favela and suffering and murder and death and stealing and all these other awful words. You can also technically, according to the theory, use something that's filled with hope or positive emotions as well, but the key is that it has to engage strong emotions, positive or negative. And then that becomes the idea that you're learning to read becomes the excuse to talk about those highly emotional subjects. That's right. Jesus. And once you get the highly emotional engaged subject as your student in the classroom, you then explain for them, you give them political literacy, as they put it, in addition to actual literacy. You give them political literacy by explaining the content in terms of course, Marxist ideology and liberation theology. And so you radicalize people by getting them highly emotionally engaged and then giving them a Marxist interpretation. And in practice, what that boils down to is that you use academic material as an excuse to have communist conversations with kids in classrooms. And that's what culturally responsive teaching does. That's what critical pedagogy does. That's its whole purpose, is to create the excuse off of academic material to have the radicalizing conversation. So you engage their emotions, you disconnect their logic, you get them riled up positively, maybe, or negatively. In the queer theory literature, it says you induce them into an emotional crisis. Literally, Kevin Kumashiro said it's the educator's responsibility to bring the kids into an emotional crisis and then structure the environment around them so they resolve the crisis in a productive social justice direction. And that's in a book, a paper called Against Repetition from 2002. It's not exactly new. And so this is the goal, right? Is this radicalizing program. And all the stuff we've been talking about up to this point is either the content or methodology of doing that radicalizing program in school. So yeah, it's all connected. Communists don't really, there's not actually that much there. It's kind of the variations on like two themes, which is all like envy and resentment, over and over and over and
Cain
over
and
again.
Abel.
Yeah, more or less.
Yeah.
I just pulled that paper up. I'm going to read that.
Okay.
Oh my God, he is country. Look at it. He just caught him drinking out of a mason jar. He is country.
Are you?
Yes.
Attaboy. That's funny.
Oh man.
What do you city folk use?
We use Yetis.
Oh,
Yetis.
And
I've got an owl mug my
metal.
fiance gave me a few years ago. Usually we drink out of those big ass, one of those things. The plastic containers that they put wonton soup in.
Oh, well, there you go.
I got one.
Yeah. I've had
man.
those. I've had some Thai tea in that.
Yeah,
Thai sweet tea, or whatever it's called.
Nutcrackers, bro. Those are great. A very strong drink that's made in Brooklyn that they sell on Eastern Parkway during the West Indian Day parade. It's man, lovely stuff.
Oh, okay,
so,
I see it. Those are good. Yeah.
Nick, what you were going to ask?
Real quick, just an observation based on what you just said. I've heard of people personally who've been had graduate classes in an Ivy League school. I'm not going to say which Ivy League school. I don't want to get anybody upset or anything, but a local one over here. And basically, they said that they took some kind of race seminar, or race class. I don't know. It's probably some kind of variation of critical race theory or something for the humanities or something like that, right? Anyways, they said that I don't know if it was one class or a couple classes, but they basically cried during the class and stuff. And I feel like you mentioned something like that
that sounds right
in your book, where maybe they showed a series of black people getting abused and lynched and sprayed with hoses, attacked by dogs for 30 minutes. White people bad, white people bad, white people bad, forever. Stories about them being colonial, whatever, savages. There was the Spaniards as well, you name it. And so I'm assuming that's what it was. I didn't know the exact details.
No,
but all I know is they were all crying at the end of it. And it's I'm like, that doesn't seem like normal education to me. That seems like a cult brainwashing.
Yeah, that's what
it's very emotional. It's very emotional. And then, it's not really educational.
And then you wake up one day and then the kids can't fucking read. Yeah. You got entire towns like my hometown of Baltimore, Maryland, where no high school in Baltimore City produced a child that can read at grade level. You talked about this. This is how.
Yeah, but what do they can do? They can show up and protest, can't they?
They can show up and protest. Look like complete fucking idiots at a Charlie Kirk rally on campus.
Yes.
Like that's what they're left with. They can't read. They can, that's why half of their when you see them post stuff on social media, it's all LMAO this and LMFAO that and squeeze.
Shit, they talk like me.
Exactly. Me too.
Yeah, but so
did you want to read from that paper? Is that what you were saying, Isaiah?
No.
It's on page 74 and 75 if you want to hear it from Kevin Kumashiro himself.
You said what?
It's on pages 74 and 75 if you want to hear from him himself.
James, you got like a freaking photographic memory, like Alex.
No,
Jones or
we
something,
cited
man.
it in the Queering of the American Child. So I just went to my book on my PDF on my laptop, typed in a word I knew was in the quote, and found where
Okay,
the reference was.
Oh,
You
okay.
just rattled.
No.
I'm
Well,
cheating.
no, I'm
Backs
talking
off, man.
about I'm talking about I'm talking about Kamashiro's actual paper, like against repetition,
Yeah.
addressing resistance to anti-oppressive. Now I'm gonna read this shit off air. This will
I
be
got
something.
you.
Yeah. This is because listen, that's really how it worked with you in relation to how you taught me, like the stuff that you would read in your podcast in new discourses. I would just go back and read and read the text myself. That's how I read Jean-Paul Sartre's foolishness.
Isn't it
Like,
crazy?
oh my god! First off, who had the fucking time to write a 30-page foreword? That's a whole chapter of fucking book. And you write that as a foreword. Like really?
That's obnoxious. That's like that. That's like Alexi Lawless was talking about co-opting, man. It's like, yeah, let me show off how smart I am in your book.
Yeah, exactly.
First read my 30 pages of horse shit before you read the book.
Exactly.
Here's what he says. I'll just tell you.
Yeah.
Learning about oppression.
Receipts.
Listen to this. Learning about oppression and about the ways they often unknowingly comply with oppression can lead students to feel paralyzed with anger, sadness, anxiety, and guilt. It can lead to a form of an emotional crisis. And then he goes on and says, once in a crisis, a student can go in many directions, some that may lead to an anti-oppressive change, others that may lead to more entrenched resistance. Therefore, educators have a responsibility not only to draw students into a possible crisis, but also to structure experiences that can help them work through these crises productively. So I did not lie. That is what he says.
That is
it
what
is
he
an educator's
said.
responsibility to
That's
draw
education
students into
now.
Oh my
crisis
god.
and then brainwash them with it.
That's education, putting your kid through an emotional crisis.
Yeah, that's critical pedagogy.
No wonder these kids are losing their shit in class these days.
Yeah, no kidding.
And then going like up here in New York, this past weekend, it got warm out yesterday for about like 45 minutes. It was like it was 80 degrees.
It was beautiful.
Yeah, it was gorgeous out. Like I said, for about 15 minutes, and then right around 5
clouds
o'clock,
came out.
right,
Yeah,
the clouds came out, and it dropped like 35 degrees. But in that brief time when it was warm out, you had multiple mobs of kids, mobs of like middle school, high school teenagers going and just wrecking shit. Like they were in Bay Plaza Mall, which is in the Northeast Bronx. Mm-hmm. And there was a group of kids out in like Queens Center Mall out in Elmhurst. And then here in Brooklyn, there was this big party on Pier 2 of Brooklyn Bridge Park. And there were hundreds of kids down there and just wilding the fuck out. Like it's no wonder this stuff is happening. They're literally driving the kids insane.
And it justifies
the fuel that they live for clicks and retweets and hearts on their freaking Instagram, and TikTok, and you got a real bonfire on your hands.
Yeah, with the quote unquote education that like they deserve to be doing this because they're oppressed and because these properties belong to these white people anyways. They sold the country, blah blah blah. So
now I want
justification that goes with it.
Now I want to throw something in here before we go. My good friend, my brother, Jason Curtis Anderson, and this is going to tie into what's next, because we're going to get into. I've been wanting to talk to you about this because I've been wanting to talk to you about this one thing. But here's, oh wait, let me go back here. Jason Curtis Anderson, shout to this young brother. Says gonna throw some things in here for you guys. Mayoral candidate, New York City mayoral candidate Zellner Myrie was elected to his current Senate position by Communist Party USA. And he threw in another one, Jackson Hinkle. I know who you know that. You know who that is, James. Jackson Hinkle's right hand, Christopher Halali, of the American Communist Party, we were talking about this yesterday, he attended a Houthi conference in Yemen, and he posted the website that goes with that. The point of that is, we've got a major communist problem here in New York, and it's been going on for quite some time. 4 years ago, you wrote a thread, and I'm going to go through some of it because I know we've got a little bit of time here, but I want to just bring this up right quick. You're driving. Now you wrote this on August 7th, 2021. So we're going on for 4 years. You're driving. You stop to let someone cross on a crosswalk, and they do without looking. A car coming the other direction does not stop and hits the person. Who is at fault? If we think systematically, everyone but the pedestrian, everyone who drives cars, sells cars, etc. We have a system that leads people to drive cars, to need to drive cars, to be unable to solve their problems without driving cars, in which people profit from selling cars, making cars, putting fuel in cars, extracting and refining the fuel, metal, rubber, etc. to make cars. All of those people, everyone who supports an economy of cars, is complicit in this and every traffic death, injury, or inconvenience, not to mention the different impacts on people, because not everyone has cars or equally good cars. These are systematic harms based on cars. This whole system and all its beneficiaries are therefore complicit in car culture, which kills tens of thousands per year. They have car complicity, which they rationalize as normal and justified because it benefits them. Their car driving life is comfortable for them. Not only people who drive cars, but people who depend on and benefit from an economic system enabled and supplied by cars and trucks, people who lay roads, people who develop components put into cars, or an economy reliant on them, are complicit and willfully ignorant of it. This is how systemic thinking works. This is a Marxian theory of cars. This is critical car theory. It's ridiculous bullshit. And sir, if I may, this is real stuff that you called 3 years ago. You called 3.5 years ago. First off, how did you come up with that? And what did you see back then that was kind of setting alarm bells off in your head?
What I saw was 11,000 different types of critical theory. And I just wanted to give people an example that you can make critical theory out of anything. So the way I actually came up with this was I was out on a walk with my wife, and we were walking down the hill, and of course we're on a sidewalk by the road, and a car goes by right at about the same time I happened to step on like a rock. Now nothing happened. I stepped on this rock, and I didn't turn my ankle or whatever, but I thought about how I could have tripped over this rock. I could have fallen into the street. And then, we could start talking about who's at fault. Is it whoever made the rock be on the sidewalk? Am I going to blame somebody for this, right? Because I got hit by a car. Is it that the driver was speeding? Is it that the driver wasn't paying attention? Was it that I tripped over the rock? Is it my fault? Is it the person who put the rock inside? And I was like, assigning blame is kind of hard, just having a philosophical kind of look at it. And then all of a sudden it hit me. I was like, actually, if we were critical theorists, what we would do is we'd blame the whole damn system. And I mean, the whole system, and the system would include, the entire reliance on driving cars, everything that goes into the economy of making cars, using cars, etc. And I just decided it was a great example. And I think I thought about it for a little while. I know I did a podcast. I know I also said this on Joe Rogan. I don't know the timing on the Rogan Experience. And then I did this thread all kind of close together, but I'm not sure what the timing was, but it was all in 21, I'm sure. And so I just kind of laid out this idea of a critical car theory with the mentality that you can make a critical theory out of anything. And so the idea is that you no longer blame any individuals that are involved, and you no longer look to see, was the driver speeding, was the driver failing to pay attention to a pedestrian or whatever, what are the relevant laws? You blame the entire system that created the circumstance, because if nobody was driving cars, nobody would have got hit by a car. So obviously the entire system that supports car driving in the first place can be blamed, which is, like I said, ridiculous bullshit. And I also knew coming down the pike, because I've been studying the sustainability agenda, that there was going to be an attack on individual driving of cars. There's already, if you want to look at some key pieces, Elon Musk is working on cars that drive themselves. I think I had already ridden in a Tesla by this point a couple of times. And so, you had cars that can drive themselves. So I'd been on the highway, somebody let go of the wheel, and it shifts lanes and does all this cool stuff by itself. Even back then when it was still lower tech, self-driving cars, you start thinking about that. And, down the line from that, you can imagine, which in the intervening time, Pete Buttigieg actually came out and said this when he was Secretary of Transportation, is that we're going to imagine a point in time, and by 2030, we're going to get to where there are no traffic deaths whatsoever. Well, how the hell are you going to do that? Well, there's not that many ways, but you can get people off the road. You can get self-driving cars with computers that never wreck or whatever. But you start thinking about it, and it's like, well, if you start thinking of traffic as a system and the culture of driving cars individually as the cause of the failures of that system, leading to whatever 30,000 deaths a year and however many injuries and however many billions of dollars of damages to vehicles and livelihoods and so on, you can see very easily how to have this thinking. But what I mostly wanted was to just give people an example. We used cars. You can pick whatever you want. You want to do critical liquor theory? We can do that one. The culture of drinking, all the people who get sick, all the people who die, all the people who do something stupid and break something. You can pick anything you want. We can make a critical theory. It would read exactly the same way. And so my real impulse with that was to show people just, all these woke theories, critical race theory, critical feminism, critical queer theory, whatever you want, critical sexuality, whatever you want. It doesn't matter if it's cars. It doesn't matter if it's beer. It doesn't matter if it's cell phones. You can cook up a critical theory in about 15 minutes, and people are getting like PhDs and writing entire, not papers, but journals of articles about these stupid things. This is how dumb and formulaic and just childishly stupid it is on the one hand, but also it's such a vivid example of how it's a terrible way to think about it. That if somebody were to get hit by a car in a crosswalk, that somehow it's everybody's fault because we use cars. This is just absolutely preposterous. Like, look both ways and try to be attentive to not hit people in crosswalks,
Well, I hate to inform you, James, but you were right once again.
Yeah, right. I know.
Transportation Alternatives, who is a major, one of 4 major anti-car nonprofits here in New York City. Just to give you quick, he says today a super speeder hit and killed 3 New Yorkers, 2 young girls and their mother. The driver was on a suspended license in a vehicle that's racked up 90 plus tickets. How the fuck did a vehicle rack up 90 plus tickets? This is an unconscionable tragedy that Albany can stop from ever happening again. So there's the government piece. All right. The status quo allows super speeders, repeating the language, to put our lives in danger. But it doesn't have to be this way. Legislation up in Albany would require speed limiters in the vehicles of the most reckless super speeders. Legislation that would have required a speed limiter in this very car. Time and time again, and you can see this is ridiculous. Ask your elected officials to finally slow down reckless drivers. Total removal of the individual. Systemic, the same formulaic, systemic thinking that you warned about 3 or so years ago.
I mean, you guys got congestion pricing too, which is pretty much the same thing.
God.
But the real
don't bring it up. Don't bring it up.
Judge saying
don't
there's
get this man
no
started.
Traffic deaths. I'm telling you.
James.
Don't get him
James,
started.
don't
Oh,
get
boy.
me, please, for the love of God, don't get me started
He's getting revved up.
about congestion price.
Dude, I was just in Manhattan and had to buy Ubers and saw how fucking expensive they are. Like, I think they're exempt from congestion pricing, though.
They
I
are
asked the
not.
Uber driver. They're
They
not.
They're exempt for the driver,
Oh, I
but
see.
not for the passenger.
Oh.
The passenger has to pay $1.50.
Oh,
Oh, well, I paid a lot more than $1.50 to move around Manhattan in a freaking Uber.
Oh, dude. Congestion pricing to me is perhaps the most insane. It is the most elitist. Like, to me, it's like the ultimate abomination, right? Like I see this. I see congestion pricing. The fact
there are worse
that
things, but yeah.
the fact you said what?
There's
There are
worse
worse
things in
things.
traffic. I'm going to blow you up with that, but go ahead. Do continue.
Well, no,
But it's pretty shitty, yes.
The fact that you have, this is what they've done, and you were talking about Cloward Piven, right? Overheating the systems. So they manufactured the problem here in New York City of congestion, right?
Mhm.
They manufactured it with these bike lanes. Then it
Yeah, that's
became
where I was going.
protected bike
Fucking
lanes.
bike lanes.
Big ass bike lanes. Yep.
8th Avenue is an abomination. I was driving along there last night. Okay.
2-direction bike lanes.
Two direction bike lanes.
With the trees in the middle.
Double wide bike lanes.
Yeah, I know.
The-
I
the-
just
the-
crossed the street as a freaking Manhattan over by the Hudson in Chelsea. We're going to go walk by the water, go look at the Freedom Tower, tourist shit. And I cross the street and I have no problem crossing with the cars. People stop. Red lights are what they are. And I get to this double wide bus lane or double wide bike lane. Fucking bikes. They're not even slowing down. They don't care there's a crosswalk there. I was like almost getting whacked by a bike rider. You psychos, get off the freaking road.
They don't. No. You don't understand, James. They're the ones who now have pride of place. You see,
Oh, I know.
They like. Hold on a second. I'm gonna show you. Let me just bring up this interaction.
I got some venting to do too, because I'll tell you what, I came in and Uber on that same road earlier that day that I paid like $85, and then I'm in this jammed up congestion traffic, and I'm looking over there at this double wide bike line and the concrete thing protecting it, and I'm like, well, that's 2 more lanes this road used to have that it doesn't have anymore because of damn that, and now this is all jammed up and we're going slow, and I'm like, I don't really want to pay this much, and I feel bad because the drivers, like you got to tip them now because you're taking freaking forever to get through traffic. It's like, this is going to cost me an arm and a leg. And you're dead on, Isaiah. They freaking manufactured the problem, and they said, look how bad the problem is. And what's the problem? It's a culture of cars.
Yeah,
and you got to give us money now.
Problem.
Right. So then
$10 every time you go downtown.
So last night, yesterday rather. Here's the other one of the other nonprofits here, Streets Blog, Streets Pack, whatever the fuck. They came up with this yesterday, Saturday morning. They said the city council's transportation chair is demanding that Mayor Adams remove a protected bike lane in her district because, quote, no one uses it. Which is true, because rule-breaking drivers constantly fill it with their cars.
Oh my!
To which I responded, "Fuck all bike lanes."
They don't like rule breakers.
I said, "Fuck all bike lanes.
Yeah, now they
throw
don't
trash in them. Take shits in the bike lanes. Park your cars in bike lanes."
Oh,
yeah.
So now I know what we're gonna be doing for our next promo material.
So then this guy,
we're taking shits in bike lanes.
Oh yeah,
you knew.
So then this guy, Michael Schneider, he's Tally, Mika, and Sophie's dad. He's Katerina Markov's husband, and he's the founder for Streets for All. He's over in Los Angeles, which is the DEI capital of the world.
It's also not New York.
It's also not New York. The fuck are you doing commenting on New York business? So then
Michael Schneider.
Yeah, exactly. This Froshagin this Froshagin says to me, really sad you're so car-brained. Encouraging people to obstruct car-brained. Yeah.
What?
Encouraging people to obstruct or park in bike lanes is literally putting lives at risk.
Literally.
People that ride bikes are people too and deserve to be safe. To which I responded,
Shush.
hold on, because I definitely had a response for him. Dude, I hate these things. I like the first off, to me, I see bike lane. We've talked about this before, where I have told people like the whole purpose of these bike lanes is to drive people to the point where they positively transcend the private property of their cars as human self-estrangement.
Mm-hmm.
They are trying to make life, and since you're the grandmaster here, you can back me up on this, please.
Well, the guy even said when you disagreed that you're car-brained.
Car-brained. In New York,
That's actually true, though. You are very car-brained, Isaiah, to be honest with you.
Is my head?
You sent me
like
a lot of car pictures and stuff that you want to buy.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
He got you there.
Well, okay, sure. To which I responded, I said, bike cultists are communists, not people.
Ooh.
I fucking hate these people. Big difference. I said, you can fuck all the way off with this because none of you Froshajins use these bike lanes. Froshajin. I've personally watched you freaks ride in the way of cars and stall traffic. You ride on the sidewalks. My fiance and I, no bullshit. My fiance and I last night, we're coming back down here to Brooklyn. This fucking guy's on a scooter. And he's tearing around on the scooter going 25 miles an hour on the fucking sidewalk.
No.
Okay? On the sidewalk. People are crazy. And this is at like 9:00 at night.
No.
Okay.
My single favorite New Yorkism.
Yeah.
By the way, you said
so.
it.
What's that? What'd you say?
You said my very favorite New York thing.
What's that?
This fucking guy.
This fucking guy.
I've been here 10 years. Been here too long. I said you don't deserve. I said you blow through red lights, then you get mad when one of you shitheads gets their Darwin Award, a face full of trash truck. You don't deserve to feel safe at all. None of these bike weebs deserve to feel safe in the slightest. I said, you actually deserve to be exposed every time you call someone car-brained because you give the game away every time you do. That every bike lane, boulder, and planter pot in the streets of New York and every other big city in the country, which is how these assholes in Los Angeles and Richmond and all these other places end up commenting on congestion pricing. Okay, you get all these. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. And I'm sorry you had to go through that as a resident of New York. I'm sorry that you had to deal with city slicker shit like planter pots and bike lanes and all sorts of other stuff. Okay, I'll invent a critical theory on cheap liquor like Seagram's gin.
I'm telling you, you got the template. Just figure out every single bad thing that happens as a result of liquor, cheap liquor in particular, and then just say if there's an entire industry where people make money off of it and people organize their lives around it and they're liquor brained because they want to party, and if they elevated their consciousness to a higher level and were socialists, that they wouldn't want to do any of this, and they would realize that this is just a way for corrupt Smirnoff executives to make money.
Yeah.
See, it's that simple. It's just literally,
it really is. Yeah.
Focus on yourself, figure out how to blame everybody for it, call everybody who disagrees with you a bad name like liquor brained or car brained, or white supremacist or Han chauvinist or whatever. It doesn't matter. It's what I'm saying. These people they have literally, I guess, two sticks to rub together, and they rub them together all the damn time. It just doesn't all look exactly the same. And that was the critical car theory in the first place.
Sometimes they rub them together with a drag queen named Miss Hot Mess.
Hot Mess.
So I wanted you to just tell our audience.
Hold on a second.
Drag pedagogy.
Before you do that, I want to bring, because our other guest has arrived. Okay.
Friend coming?
Yes.
All right.
She is one of my favorite people on Twitter. Well, X or whatever the fuck you want to call it on a given day. She is the host of the Not Going Back podcast. I've been on her show. It's amazing. She is a former Democrat fundraiser who went for Trump in 2024. Like a lot of us, she is the queen of apostates. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Evan Barker.
Oh,
Hi.
Hey, how are you?
How's it going, guys?
All right. Say hello to James.
Hi, James. I am so excited to meet you.
Yeah, likewise. Good times.
Nice
Yes.
to meet you.
So go ahead with it. Nos, you started to say something,
So
and then we'll get into why we're all here tonight.
So Evan, I've been reading the Marxification of Education that our friend James Lindsay wrote, and I heard about a lot of this stuff via X and different things, podcast appearances with James and other people that talked about this. So I just wanted James to explain to our audience a little bit about drag pedagogy and what Little Miss Hot Mess had to do with it, and the queering of children in education. Because I think that's something that's of real importance to parents or to anybody who thinks that we shouldn't be spending our tax dollars on this stuff to quote unquote educate kids.
Well, welcome to the discussion, Evan. We're going to talk about drag queens,
Awesome.
at least for a minute. So you were thrown right into the deep into the pool tonight. So yeah, there was this paper that came out in 2021, I think, titled "Drag Pedagogy" that explains the real purpose for Drag Queen Story Hour. Luckily, like a lot of things, I keep this stupid thing open on my desktop or my laptop just in case I need to read it to people. And they tell you just straight out that the point of Drag Queen Story Hour is not, in fact, anything like what they say it is, that it is in fact to do all kinds of things like introduce queer ways of being and living to children. There's an entire section about how it's to teach children to be defiant and to rebel.
As if we need to do that.
Yeah, it's
sure kids got that
not
down pretty well.
It explicitly says that it's there to help make the real teacher seem boring. You can imagine the parents also seem boring by comparison to the Technicolor drag queen. So it's kind of very groomery. But my favorite, there's a few favorites, I guess, but my favorite full section in the paper is called "From Empathy to Embodied Kinship." And what they tell us in this particular section of this paper is that, they say Drag Queen Story Hour is about creating empathy and representation for kids who might think that they're gay or that might grow up to be gay. In fact, it says it is often assumed that the primary pedagogical goal of queer education should be to increase empathy toward LGBT people. And then what they say is, while this premise has some merit and underlines many sincere projects in educational and culture work, the notion of empathy also has been critiqued. And then they go on to say that that's not really the point. It is undeniable that Drag Queen Story Hour participates in many of these tropes of empathy from the marketing language the program uses to its selection of books. Much of this is strategically done in order to justify its educational value. In other words, it's a marketing lie. It is the commercial in order to get it in. However, we suggest that drag supports scholars' critique of empathy rather than reifying the concept. Drag performers do not necessarily seek identification with another, but rather to experience ways of embodying and expressing different aspects of themselves, rather than walking in someone else's shoes and trying to understand what it might mean to be a different gender. For example, drag offers a model for participants to try on many costumes and cosmetics to understand how these elements reinforce or alter their own sense of self. So this talks about opportunities for young people to experiment with the feeling of how and why seemingly arbitrary changes of clothing and behavior impact the ways they experience and interpret the world and are interpreted by the world. Drag is an imaginative and creative process. It's grounded in building character in the sense of constructing a persona. This approach can support students in finding the unique queer aspects of themselves rather than attempting to understand what it is like to be LGBT. So, for example, they straight up tell you that it's not about empathy. It's not about representation. It is, in fact, about introducing queer ways of living and being to kids. They go on to say Drag Queen Story Hour is family friendly in the sense that it is accessible and inviting to families with children, but it is less a sanitizing force, meaning to make it family friendly, doesn't sanitize drag, then it is a preparatory introduction to alternate modes of kinship. Here, Drag Queen Story
Fucking
Hour is
wickedness.
family friendly in the sense of family as an old school queer code to identify and connect with other queers on the street. I'm sure that's what you want for your kids, to go connect with queers on the street.
Street queers.
Street queers as
Gotta
your
find some
family.
street queers. Yeah.
And they end this paper by saying we're reading books while we read each other's looks, and we're leaving a trail of glitter that won't ever come out of the carpet. This is what Drag Queen Story Hour is really about. So I've been challenged a bunch. I kind of popularized that use of the phrase "okay groomer" to respond to these people, and I get all this challenge. I just went to New Zealand. All over New Zealand they challenged me. I've been on all these shows, people challenging me. James, how dare you call these people groomers? Do you think they're all pedophiles? Well, no, I don't think they're all pedophiles. I think there's ideological grooming as well. But we're also seeing a lot of kind of crossover action going on there.
I don't.
However, I ask these people, I say, if I'm not allowed to use the word groomer, let's just concede that and say, I'm not allowed to use the word groomer to describe these things. Let me read to you these things, which are some of the ones I just read to you. What word do I use for that? And I have yet to have one say anything except, okay, that's grooming.
Yeah, I want to say, as a mom, I have a toddler. And I live in Northern California. I live in the San Francisco Bay Area. I have been to numerous children's events since I've had my son where there has been drag queens there, interacting with kids. And it's billed as an event that is for children. And they're drag queens. And the thing that I don't understand about it is, why are we we don't bring strippers, we don't bring female strippers into school spaces or children's museums or children's libraries to make children more empathetic to sex workers. So
Not
why
yet,
are we
at least.
doing this
Not yet.
with drag queens? Because it is kind of like another form of just sexual expression, right? It
Well, they
doesn't make
specifically want to confuse kids about gender. They want kids to believe that boys can be girls and girls can be boys, and that dress and all that is arbitrary and presentation is arbitrary. It's really easy. Plus, drag queens are, for a child, much more like a clown, and so comparatively fun as compared to, say, a stripper, who might be fun for their dad, but not so much for the kid. But they call this a generative opportunity, right? I'm looking for the exact wording. Drag Queen Story Hour provides a generative extension of queer pedagogy into the world of early childhood education. Ultimately, the authors propose that drag pedagogy provides a performative approach. So there's that part to queer pedagogy that is not simply about LGBT lives, but living queerly. And so the goal is not necessarily to introduce sex work or transgressive sexual behavior. The goal is specifically to introduce the idea of queer theory, which is to break down any limiting principles. It is to actually, the definition of queer is given by David Halperin, is whatever is opposed to the normal, the legitimate, and the dominant. It is anybody who is or feels marginalized as a result of their sexual practices or presentation. And so the idea is, Drag Queen Story Hour is a very easy way to start introducing children to the idea of gender and sex and sexuality being fluid and up for grabs. And it's also something, whereas a stripper is a little harder, a sex worker is a little harder to sell a parent on, telling them that, a relatively modestly dressed drag queen is something that you can get these kind of dopey inclusive parents to say, oh, well, that's okay. You have to have something that's controversial enough to where you'll have a large mass of people saying, I don't see what the problem is, even though the problem is literally staring them in the face with gigantic blue eye shadow on, or as we called it growing up, horror shadow.
Imagine, a horror shadow. Yeah. I actually like that. Imagine. So basically what we're talking about, if we're going to interpret what this little Miss ain't nothing
Hotness.
little. Ain't nothing
Harold
little.
Ornstein.
Harold, yeah, ain't nothing. Well, first off, ain't nothing little about
Little
that.
Miss Harold.
Yeah, ain't nothing. Well, first off, ain't nothing little about that fucking mess. But essentially, if we're going to interpret this a certain way, this is basically one gigantic what drag queen story hour is. It's one very interactive infomercial.
Mm-hmm.
That's essentially what this is. It's a gigantic infomercial where some really, really despicable human being decides I'm going to dance weird and shake my genitalia in the face of a 4-year-old.
Yeah,
Right.
I've seen them strip
Like,
a little
what-
bit
like,
too.
oh my God.
And like they had some art festival in Stamford, Connecticut, and there's a couple drag queens come out and they'll take off like a article of clothing in a very like sexual way.
But that's what I'm saying. Yeah,
Yeah.
it does feel
And it's a
sort of like
kid's event.
stripper-esque to me,
In the
which is why
face
I've
of-
never understood. Yeah, in
Certainly
the face
is.
of very young children.
Yeah.
So,
And like
it is. It
sometimes,
really is.
Isaiah, you're not
Yeah.
even given the opportunity to decide if that's something you want your child to see. You're just
Exactly.
at an event like I've been in San
Mhm.
Francisco, and they're there. And like I personally, I have zero problem with anyone who wants to dress in drag if they're over 18 and if
Or with
they're
adults,
it's
whatever.
around
Yeah.
adults
Like a gay
and
bar or
they
they
something.
know
you
what
wanna do
they're
that,
going
like, whatever, do what
into.
you
Like
gotta do.
I've
Yeah.
definitely in my younger years gotten drunk at a drag show and had the time of my life.
Yeah, it's fine.
But now that as a mother, I don't want to bring, my 3-year-old son into that environment and then have him like ask all these different questions. And then on top of that, there's this entire industry behind it as well, like people making children's books, like these social justice consultants that come into
Yes.
schools and bill the parents and the schools thousands of dollars to basically teach them about these things too. I mean, James could probably speak on this more thoroughly
you
than I
got it.
could. I'm just
That's
speaking
right.
from experience of, just having a toddler and just seeing it in the Bay Area. But yeah, it's also an entire industry too. I think there's an industry aspect to it.
I think it's a way to like
Iron
to
law of
provoke
woke
the
corruption.
right too, and conservatives, and even just it's not just conservatives that don't like this stuff, like moderates, Democrats. I'm sure plenty of people are like, "What the hell's going on here? What is?"
But yeah,
this?
no,
Right?
I think there's other parents even around here who like I've been in these moms groups and everything, and like a lot of them they'll be excited like, oh, there's a drag story hour, like I'm going, but I think sometimes a lot of them too don't like it, but they're just afraid to say it because they
'Cause
know
they'll be
that if you
homophobic
do
or
say it,
something.
you'll end
Yeah.
up being treated like
Transphobic.
how I have been,
Yes.
So-
which is basically excommunicated.
Can you?
So with
wait,
Marxism,
hold on a second. Before you get started, James, Evan, do you want to expound on that? Can you or?
I mean, I can a little bit, not too much. I don't
Okay.
want to, but yeah, I mean, I've just since voting for Donald Trump, I worked in Democratic politics for a long time. I'm almost 35. I think I look 25, but I'm almost 35.
Indeed.
And I started out on Obama's campaign in 2008 and slowly become just disenchanted, disaffected with the left, especially over the last 4 years with how crazy they've been over largely social justice issues. And, especially after having having a child and becoming a parent, I've woken up a little bit even more to some of the things that we're seeing, like in schools. It's very common in California for elementary schools to have the trans flags just like displayed in the classrooms. Like I see it, and even not even in the classrooms, like literally displayed outside the school. Under the American flag. Like that's just normal. That's common here, sadly.
Almost like equalizing it with the importance of the American flag.
It's really strange. It's just like,
That's
why
pretty
is that
crazy.
even in our school at
Yeah.
all? Like it's again, I don't care if a kid goes to school and they have it on their keychain or something like that. Like you've individual freedom of expression, but why is it next to the American flag, right? So, but speaking out on these things since November and becoming, I've been exposed within my own local community here in San Francisco. Other moms have seen my articles online, probably could even be watching right now, who knows. I've been following my socials, sharing it with each other. And yeah, my son doesn't get invited to birthday parties anymore. We don't get invited to play dates anymore. I think, there's been it's been difficult. It's been brutal. And so, people that I used to say hi to me all the time at the playground no longer acknowledge me.
Mean
It's
girl shit.
mean girl shit. It's like I got canceled by the people that I used to work with when I decided I wasn't going to vote for Kamala. Even before I decided I was going to vote for Trump, just not voting for Kamala, they all stopped talking to me, which I expected. And then, when I voted for Trump, it was like another layer of cancellation. And that was from like people that are in my personal life. So, and unfortunately it has affected my son. So, and
That
it's not
sucks.
I
fair.
hate this shit. I'm so sorry, Evan.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry to hear that. Like, if there's one thing about this movement, it is that group bullying. It is that
Ostracization.
mass,
Yeah.
the attacking of this mob assault on people, both the overt and the covert attacks on people. And so to all of you who might be hate watching Evan on my show, and I'm pretty
There
sure
might be a
you're going
few.
to do it. And there are probably going to be a few. I know there are several who hate watch James.
He
Yeah.
loves it.
Yeah, he loves it. This guy lives for this shit. But for because we haven't even touched on woke right. We might have to save that for another show. But to everybody who's who's seeking Evan's destruction, allow me to say this: fuck you. Fuck each and every one of you.
Fuck you.
You will not win. We will defeat you. You are already a defeated enemy.
Grow up.
Grow up.
Let
you
people have their own
fucking
opinion.
communists. You
Let people disagree with you.
despicable,
You gotta
mean
fix.
girl ass communists. We don't like you. We don't fuck with you. And not a hair on Evan's head will be harmed. Fuck off.
Let the kid
Anyway.
come to the party. Good Lord.
So
Fucking
now
idiot.
let's get
Amazing
to the
idea.
main. So now let's get to the main event here, because and honestly, this is a further extension of group bullying. Last year, or was it 2 years ago? I think you, James, came up with a phrase with the term Maoism with American characteristics. You were standing, I believe you said this over in Europe, a pretty massive a speech you were giving. I believe it was in Switzerland. No,
I don't remember which time I said it first.
it was
yeah,
in
maybe.
Well, the one I saw it was when you were talking about the different genuses.
Oh, that was at
of-
the EU
yeah.
Parliament. Yeah, it was 2 years ago, like this week. Like that was like right
Shit.
now, 2 years ago.
Oh shit!
Yeah, that
So-
was in Brussels at the EU Parliament.
So I meant to find the video video clip for this, but there was a show that came out on Netflix. It was called The Three Body Problem, and I think it's one of the first scenes in the show, in the first episode, where it gives like the most graphic depiction of a Maoist struggle session that I've ever seen. Like I've never seen. Like I've seen the pictures, we've seen the stills. We've heard the stories from people like She Van Fleet and oh god, who's the other lady?
Lily Tang Williams.
Yes, Lily Tang Williams. Thank you. We've heard the stories from those two amazing women who lived through the Cultural Revolution. You've met them both, I believe.
I have.
But you never really. It's one thing to hear this stuff from people, but it's another to see it in praxis. Yes, I'm using that word directly. I want to introduce everybody to let's see here. I want to introduce to everyone, just to set the table a little bit. I want to introduce you all to New Hampshire State Representative Jonah Wheeler. Okay. And he invoked the wrath of the cult earlier this week.
AKA the Democrats.
The Democrats. So from the New Hampshire Journal, headline is New Hampshire Dems invoke Jim Crow in attack on Black progressive over bathroom bill vote. Angry House Democrats unleashed public attacks on a member of their own caucus Thursday over his support for legislation protecting women-only spaces like locker rooms and bathrooms. One Democrat even invoked Jim Crow in his remarks targeting progressive Jonah Wheeler, who is Black. The bill, HB 148, that would allow the separation of locker rooms, changing rooms, and bathrooms for males and females that align with their sex, revived this session by Republicans after Governor Chris Sununu vetoed similar legislation last year, advanced 201 to 166. Two Democrats, Wheeler and Representative Peter Leishman, both of Peterborough, joined the GOP in support. Immediately after the final tally was announced, several cries of "shame on you" and "shame" could be heard throughout the chamber. Wheeler, who earlier in the day broke with his party and to support the parental bill of rights legislation, attempted to explain his stance on this legislation to the members of his caucus. These conversations can be nuanced, Wheeler said, putting in place policies that say women who were born women deserve a space to themselves that is not transphobic. Now, the reason why I bring this up is I offer that context to bring up a listening event that Congressman Wheeler was a part of. Now, mind you, Wheeler is one of these people. Okay, I want to make that distinction very clear. Wheeler is one of them. He is a progressive. Okay, and this was the listening session. Jamie Reed, shout to Jamie Reed, another wonderful lady. Actually, there was a live feed, but Jamie Reed apparently did one of her own. Now, I have not watched the full thing. We'll go over a bit of this as we have time. But I want to get your reaction to this. Ladies and gentlemen, again, we are about to go through what an actual struggle session looks like in praxis.
Don't respond to me right away, because I'm not going to get lost in this. My question is, do you understand the ripple effect that your actions have on vulnerable people? And I am saying, as someone who has been in your corner almost as long as I've been a teacher, I sat across from you and you talked about how you wanted to go to Florida State. I proudly voted for you, and I am ashamed of what you have done out in the world. I cared for you. Jean is my student too. This room is full of people you are actively hurting. I don't know how you speak.
No.
Hurting by protecting women's sports, I guess.
How do you like that?
Okay.
I sleep just fine.
Attaboy.
There you go.
Mad based.
Unbelievable.
Based.
Your initial thoughts.
Super based.
Your initial thoughts, panel. Well, ladies first, I guess. Well, actually.
No, James
James
first.
James, you go first, brother. Sorry.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's a struggle session, and not to dampen your night, Isaiah, but I tell you, the struggle session depicted in Three Body Problem is actually, it's pretty graphic, but it's actually really tame and sanitized for Netflix. Like, they were a lot worse than that. And what you just watched is a modern one. Obviously, nobody's getting at the end of that one. The guy gets kicked and beaten to death on the stage for having like the wrong physics in the Three Body Problem, and nobody got attacked physically here. Everything's a little bit more therapeutic and wishy-washy these days, but that was a struggle session. And it reminds me, this is an issue for Democrats, just to bring it up real quick. Sean Theory, who is a Democratic state rep in Texas from Houston, recently broke with her party over exactly the same thing. And what she said, because I talked to her personally about it, she went and said that she couldn't vote in good conscience for whatever the trans thing was that the Democrats wanted. And she was told basically to keep her mouth shut and go along with it and just, take one for the team or whatever. And she refused, and 0 Democrats backed her up. And they spent $750,000 for a state rep seat in Houston to primary her and get her out. So she joined the Republican Party, supported Donald Trump, showed up in a red dress as one does, and it was pretty fantastic. But I mean, this is something the Democrats are having to deal with, and they're not gonna let people break ranks. And so it doesn't matter that he's already a progressive. It doesn't matter what his left-wing bona fides or Democratic Party bona fides are. This guy broke rank on this issue, and they're going to do this, and they're going to try to draw out. Notice the emotional appeal. You're hurting people. Whatever, blah, blah, blah. In China, they were called not just struggle session, which was called something like dojang or something like that. In the Mandarin, they had this thing called suku, which meant speak bitterness. And so that's what that lady was doing to him. She was speaking bitterness. She was saying how hurt she was and how hurt other people are. And this is what you bring to people. And how do you sleep at night? And the Maoists made everybody do that in like every village, and every night they would have speak bitterness meetings, and where they'd all vent their bitterness at each other every night.
How do you
every
sleep?
single night.
Yeah. How do you sleep at night?
And
How do
then
I
he's like,
sleep at
"Fine."
night? Well, yeah, I'd sleep a lot better if you people shut the fuck up.
Yeah, no kidding.
Jesus Christ. Every night?
Can think about it. If these people had the power that Mao did, do you not think we'd be going through these DEI type struggle session meetings? We'd be in that every effing day. We all know we'd be in it every day, because there's nothing these people know how to do, but they really love to make other people feel rotten about this kind of stuff. So
20 years ago, just real quick, 20 years ago, I was in the Army. Okay. And fire guard sucked in basic. Okay. Where you'll sleep for 2 hours, then you get woken up and watch for fire guard. That's bad enough. But imagine this: the drill sergeant late at night calls a formation for whatever reason. Okay. At 2 something in the morning, everybody's asleep, and now you got to run out full, BDUs and all that, or your PTs, and stand in formation for what? Now imagine that in a struggle session.
yeah.
That's insane. It's not the same, obviously, but it's.
Well, I mean, they could add
Don't
that.
give them good ideas, Isaiah. Don't give them-
No, God, no. We'll edit it in post.
Yeah, no. So what I'm most impressed with, though, is that he stood up to it. He didn't fold. And like, time for a little real talk. The Democrats have got themselves a problem with their DEI programming, because a lot of black people are not down with this. Sean Theory is also a black lady, and they're running up against this idea. Like a lot of black people are not down with trans. They're not down with men and women's sports or any of this. And you're starting to see them break ranks. And then when they break ranks, they get attacked by all this therapeutic white woman culture. And what you're starting to see, whether male or female, we got 2 examples on the table right here, the one I mentioned and the one we just watched. And what we're seeing is them saying, no, I'm sorry, my principles matter more. So the Democratic Party's got a real problem on its hands coming down the pike with all this. And I think what we're going to watch is a lot more people breaking with this issue. But this good gentleman showed exactly what to do in the face of a struggle session, is that you do not cave in. What the point of the struggle session is to get you to is to get you to cave in and confess to some made up crime. So this woman is accusing him, you've harmed all these people. Bullshit, he didn't harm anybody. That's a made up crime. So the second you confess to a made up crime, you, in the language of the day, you cuck yourself, you take away your own standing and your own authority, you feel bad, you show the crowd that you can be dictated to and that you'll cave in. And it doesn't get better. They hold out this fake promise that it's going to get better if you just admit that you messed up and apologize. But what happens is it gets worse because they know now that they can bend you, that they can
own
break
you.
And so the only way to deal with it is to do exactly what that guy did, is to come straight out and say, no, I sleep great. I'm right. Here's why I'm right. And to just stand in those principles. That's why based is the opposite of woke, which is why PS, the woke right, which is not based at all, is woke. It is not based because it's throwing the same kind of fits. It's struggling people. It's playing the whole emotional militancy game. I just saw those words on the screen. I love that. And it's not based. Being edgy is not based. Standing in your principles is based. Listen to the fucking word. Based.
Hey,
On a
James.
base, not tipped over, right? I mean, standing in your principles.
This is a little off topic, but since you brought it up, I've been trying to wrap my brain around what the woke right is. Could you mansplain to me? Because I feel like you might be the perfect
Listen, lady.
person to
James,
explain it.
I'm gonna need you to
know
manspread while you mansplain as well.
Oh, I'm manspreading. Don't worry.
Okay, all right. Making sure.
That's default.
Let's do it.
Because I really don't understand it. Like I get all these different conflicting definitions.
No, it's much. It's
And
really.
you know what?
really
I don't understand it either. So yeah, please.
It's exceedingly simple. It's people who say they're on the right who act like they're on the left. They got a victim mentality. They think that victim mentality gives them special insight into what's going on in the world. So they have a special privilege to be able to run things. If you just give them power, they're going to fix it. If you ask them how, they know, don't worry about it. You know, it's like when Nancy Pelosi said, vote for the bill and we'll tell you what's in it. They've got and again, it all comes from that victimhood, but then they go around smearing people, cancel culture, emotional manipulation, trying to get people the whole 9 yards of the leftist behavior, doxing people. When you get out to the groypers, they dox everybody all the time. They're all causing, which is a threat. You know that you might get hit with a SWAT attack or something after that. It's all very frightening when it happens to you. So they are people who claim to be pushing traditional values. Traditionalism is, in fact, the Burkean definition of conservative.
Right.
So they claim to be right wing. But what they're actually pushing, or what they're actually doing, is using leftist ways of knowing and leftist tactics in order to advance their cause. So it has, it doesn't mean that they've adopted like pro-gay stances or something like that. And usually it's the exact opposite. It's that they've leaned into identity politics, literally the opposite of what the woke left says. So it's like, another way I describe them is it's people who take every stereotype the left has said about the right and tries to live up to it. So they said that the right is racist. So they're like, here's a racist joke. And they say that the right is fascist. So they're like, we like Hitler. And they say that the right is, patriarchal. So they're like, shut up, woman. If women would stop talking, we could solve all the problems.
Those are examples, people who say things like that.
Those are woke right.
Yeah.
Wow.
See, that's why it's so hard for me to wrap my head around, because it's like,
because you're thinking like Lindsay Graham or something.
So it's like Andrew Tate.
I'm just like, because when I think of woke, I automatically think of people that are trying to be super politically correct and are trying to police people. I mean, and it sounds like somewhat you're saying that they do police people.
Yeah, tell these people they're not really Christians. See how they go with policing the language. Okay. Quote scripture to them when not Christians. See how they behave. Only Christians can know this. Only Christians can quote scripture. Only Christians can this. Only Christians can that.
They say that?
Or if you say something they don't like, they'll accuse you of being a member of a race they don't like. You can imagine the one that starts with N, but the big one starts with J, Jew.
So they're just, so they're just kind of like shitheads.
Well, they're closer to fascists than shitheads, but I mean, that's like redundant, right? That's like saying that Marxists are closer to dirtbags. It's just redundancy.
I mean, but they kind of are.
What, shitheads?
And
dirtbags? Assholes?
Yeah. They're every
cucks, cunts, closeted homosexuals. Yeah, all those things.
I'm sorry. I'm a ball of hatred for communists and really the entire cult of the state. So when I hear, when I hear like James and other people describe like all of the left and the right hands of this of Marxism, it drives me insane. I mean, I don't interact much with woke right. Like, I don't know anything about them for the most part.
Yeah.
But from what you've described, because I know you've kind of gone after. If you don't mind, who's that? Who's
Going after a few people.
Yeah, but I'm trying to think
Wait,
of
who have you gone
the Brit,
after?
Russell Brand. You've gone after
Russell Brand. Russell
Yeah,
Brand's
like
an actor. Come on.
I hear you, but I'm trying to who are some examples of woke right that you feel comfortable naming? Like,
give us the dirt, James.
give us
Tucker
give me-
Carlson, Candace Owens, Aaron McIntyre, Andrew Torba, Andrew Isker, CJ Engel. How long do you want this list to be? Nathaniel Fisher,
Okay.
John Harris, Charles Haywood.
Oh my
How
God.
long do you want this list?
So you wouldn't add
Ian Carroll.
like
So-
Nick Fuentes or Andrew
Nick Fuentes
Tate on
for
that?
freaking sure.
Okay, all right.
Although
I
he's
wasn't sure
probably
if they
just
were
a
a
Fed.
separate
Again,
category.
probably an actor.
Andrew Tate.
Andrew Tate is this weird object. He kind of pushes, especially with the anti-woman thing, he kind of pushes it. He sort of dips into the Jew thing. So he pushes it
He's a
that
Muslim
way.
too,
But
isn't he?
he's much more like he's this weird icon.
recent
That's
convert.
He's a
That's
psychopath. I can't stand him.
yeah, I think he's just that. And then a lot of people,
He's a
I think
pimp.
he has blackmail on a lot of conservatives. I strongly suspect that. I don't know
Yeah.
that.
So
be
let's talk
surprised.
about so help me with one thing, because I respect Tucker Carlson.
Uh-huh.
Me
And
too.
the reason and the
Give it
reason
time.
and the
I like Tucker. Don't say.
Give it time.
the
Just keep
reason-
watching him. Actually, I got asked the other day, who's going to take down Tucker Carlson? And I won't say who asked me that. And I was like, Tucker Carlson's taking down Tucker Carlson. Just keep watching him.
But
So, all right, let me ask
Maybe
you, can I ask you this, James?
My
Prime
question is-
Minister of Qatar and gives them a
Do you-
softball interview. Maybe it's got to be Putin. Maybe he's going to talk about how good the grocery stores are in a Potemkin
In
village
Moscow,
visit to Moscow. Maybe he's going to put Charles Haywood and talk about Franco on his show. Maybe he's going to put CJ Engel, a Christian nationalist, or Andrew Isker, whose idea is the Boniface option, that we're going to chop down the tree of liberty so that we can have a society that's ordered well.
what?
He's
Who
put
said
all these people on his show. Maybe it's going to be Jeffrey Sachs, who's a CCP guy, with
Oh,
the
dear
sustainable
God.
head
But
of the sustainable development
Just because
agenda.
you interview somebody doesn't necessarily mean you agree with 100%
No.
of their
When you
beliefs.
disagree with somebody and you interview them, as has
You
been
have to say so.
my positive experience many times, you ask them hard questions. You
Fair.
don't skirt around like the fact that they've openly promoted Franco, for example, and go right up to the edge of it by asking them a bunch of questions about the Spanish Civil War. Oh, your writing on the Spanish Civil War is really fascinating. You might be some of the best writing on the Spanish Civil War I've ever read. Let's ask you a bunch of questions about it, but never actually say, do you support
Never
Franco or have you
challenging.
educated?
You challenge anything.
No
yeah.
challenging whatsoever. This is called building people's platforms for them.
Yeah.
This is
James, I
a
want to ask you one thing. though,
Seriously
ab-
shady behavior.
about Tucker, because I think there is probably some respect for him in this group or amongst the right. Do you think that he is acting, or do you think he's coming from a genuine point of view where he really believes these guys actually have something really important to say? They have some part of the truth that they're showing. So I want to platform because they've been ostracized or something like that. Do you
I
think?
hope he's acting.
Do you think he's acting? Do you think he's disingenuous and maybe doing it for effect or something, or do you think this is really what he believes?
No
After
idea.
both of them?
No idea.
Okay.
All I can do is take at face value that he seems very convicted to his beliefs.
Seems like it. Yeah.
So he may very well believe it, but he's just he's just asking questions, right? These are all the things you're not allowed to say. You're not allowed to ask about Israel's involvement. You're not allowed to. This is woke thinking. You're not allowed to ask about the white supremacy. You're not allowed to ask about the cis heteronormativity. You're not allowed to challenge that. We're excluded from the given power structure, but we're going to ask critical questions to come up from underneath it, to take it apart. We're just asking questions. And it's that you're just not allowed to say these things. This is the woke epistemology. There is a they out there that controls the machinations of society. And we're outside that. We're marginalized and excluded by it. And by virtue of that, we see things a little differently. So we're going to ask critical questions and, kind of tear down at the foundations of, our relationship with Israel, our belief that the dispensational approach to Christianity is not a Jewish plot. We're going to tear that down. We're going to tear down our belief in the American Republic because of the bad behavior of its intelligence services. These are the kinds of things that literally every single one of his shows and interviews is about. The guy's woke as fuck.
Oh my God. I
hate to break this to you guys.
So it's
Not true, man. It's not true.
Stop. I don't believe it. I went out.
Mute James's mic. Mute his mic.
Right. Right, cancel him now. Cancel him.
I don't feel so strongly about it either way, honestly.
I
But
mean,
I get your point. Vince. Yeah.
Same. I mean, for me, it's just because this is a new space for me, right? Like, I've been, well, I was raised in this space before, but as of the end at 2022, the beginning of 2022, that's where I like when I broke with the Democrats over the Afghanistan withdrawal. Okay. And then that's how I think I started following you. I think it started following you in like 2021, James. I don't know. But I started watching Tucker Carlson. And what made me respect him was the fact that he went up against the power structure that is Fox News. I mean, let's be clear. It objectively is a power structure that Fox News is. You have two places, over on the left, MSNBC and CNN, but Fox has been a bottleneck within mainstream media on the right for a while.
What's happening to Evan? Somebody
Ev, you okay?
Yeah, I just,
slipping and falling off your.
Just go ahead.
This isn't. No, what I'm saying is, I'm saying historically. This isn't. I'm not insulting at all because I have a lot of respect for many people on that show. But the question that I have is, what is it like? Was Carlson like self-serving in this? Was he like not like I don't get it. Like I had respect for him, but now I see where he's at now. I'm just confused by it. Like what's happening with this?
I don't know. I don't have an answer for you for what's happening. I don't know his motivations. It's not like the guy talks to me. So I don't know what his motivations are, and I don't know what his motivations were at the time. He certainly elevated the character that goes by Martyr Maid, who is really named Daryl Cooper, who he also had on to do some Nazi apology, and then called him America's most honest historian and gave him yet another peculiarly softball interview. And
I did see pieces of that.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Maybe
that's
if he does
one
it
where
a
he
couple
said
more
about Winston
times.
Churchill's the villain. Is that one?
Yeah, that guy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
World War II. Yeah,
the guy who's currently making a web documentary series about telling about the story of World War II from the Germans' perspective, so he can humanize the Nazis a little bit. Why
would you want to do that?
I would not want to do that.
I mean, but no, like, why would anyone want to do that? I mean, we're talking
because
about
there's
artifacts of history
because there's a system of power called the post-war liberal consensus that was erected after World War II to make sure that there would be an international order that would never again slip into fascism. And in its process, it excluded true conservative solutions and replaced them with neoconservatism. And the CIA agent Barry Goldwater was instrumental in installing that and kicking all of the real conservatives out of the party so that it would be a one-party state acting like a two-party state. Blah, 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 blah. That's their creation myth. Does it sound woke? Sure does. So they are the marginalized minority group within conservatives who hasn't been allowed to have a voice at the table, and they just want to center themselves in the conversation. Does it sound familiar?
It sounds.
And if you disagree with any of this, go on Twitter, disagree, X, whatever. Go disagree with any of this and see how many thousands of people call you Jewish in the next half an hour.
Wow.
So I mean, I believe that. I mean,
interesting.
Here's the thing: like, there are the elements about that I believe, though. Like, I believe, like, the whole thing. Like, when we talk about, because me and my fiance talk about this sometimes. Like, we talk about the uniparty establishment.
No, that's kind of real.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, when I see,
it's definitely
when
real.
I see, Oh, I know you can attest to that. But like, because when I see Chuck Schumer voting a certain way, and then Mitch McConnell voting the exact same way, and the primary motivation is because Trump likes it or dislikes it, that to me says, okay, both parties really are acting different, and there's like and there's a mechanism in place.
Yeah, that's true.
So there are elements of that I do believe, and plus, it's really fucking hard to get to a $36 trillion national deficit with just one party at the helm. You know what I mean? Like, somebody had to act like the aggressor, and then someone had to act like the passive you know, be the passive actor in all of this. So is this kind of one of those things where we're talking about communism, like these people marrying truth to lies for their own purposes?
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
okay.
Yeah, so that
Yeah.
all the stuff you just said is the truth, but then you have to explain why it's the case. So their explanation for that is that Barry Goldwater in particular helped set up a structural power system on the conservative or Republican side of the aisle to exclude true conservatism in order to enable the uniparty. Where there are other possible explanations that they don't seem to have on the table, you know, like somebody going to Washington and there being highly corrupt incentives from corporations, highly corrupt incentives from foreign governments, highly corrupt incentives from the Washington machine itself, that maybe actually have less to do with a pervasive, diffuse power structure that corrupted conservatism to keep fascists and racists out, and might have and Nazis, and might have something to do with that the system itself is corrupt in a different way, financially or something else. Like maybe somebody sits them all down at the beginning and it's like, you vote right and all these fun insider trading options are available to you, and if you don't, we're going to make sure you have one term and get you out of here because we have agendas where we're making millions of dollars off of insider trading. I'm not saying that that's the explanation. I'm saying it's an alternative explanation to a diffuse system of power that excludes true conservatism, where true conservatism seems to be defined by literal fascism, which is, by the way, not conservative at all. It's a progressive ideology.
Not at all. And I find it hilarious when communists and other, you know, I guess more out and proud leftists will say, when they try to make fascism a right-wing ideology, I'm like, no, because there's nothing right-wing about getting corporations to align with government to oppress the masses.
That's right.
That's leftist shit.
Or the fundamental goal of transformation of society toward an ideal, which Mussolini talked about, Hitler talked about as the goals of their program. And so those are progressive ideologies.
Sound the same, bro. Like it doesn't.
Well, here's how they're different,
it makes
right?
me sick. It's like
the communists come out and lie and say that they hate oppression, but really they hate that they're not the ones doing oppression, right? But they say that their goal is to overthrow oppression. The fascists come out and say everything the same except oppression's what made everything work. So we're going to lock into some form of oppression. We're going to hate the Jews. We're going to hate the blacks. We're going to hate somebody that's caused all of our problems. So oppression good versus oppression bad, otherwise same system.
So it sounds like the fascists are a little bit more honest.
Yeah, I don't think they're as smart, so they're not as good at lying.
Interesting.
But this answers the question. Another way to answer the question for you, Evan, about what are they, is that it's so-called conservatives, and I'll use so-called, or right-wing. They don't like conservatives. In fact, they call themselves right-wing, not conservative. They are right-wing people, as they describe themselves, who have adopted Marxist analysis. That's a totally other way to characterize it. You could say critical theory instead. And it's not hard to find these people writing articles and saying that Marx's analysis of capitalism and liberalism was correct. It's just that his solutions were wrong and they have different solutions, which are fascist. Or to say that they've adopted critical methodologies, which is, by the way, what I would tell you Tucker Carlson is doing. He's doing a critical theory of whether you want it to be the United States intelligence apparatus, its relationship to Israel, or if you want it to be the United States overall, kind of a critical America theory. I feel very much like that's what he's doing. This is the kind of characteristic. They've adopted the Marxist conflict theory model of how society works. It's just that they actually, fascists, not Tucker Carlson necessarily, fascists embrace oppression as the vehicle to make a stable society, whereas communists say that oppression is the thing that has to be overthrown. Otherwise, it's the same program.
Unreal. I'm in shock. I mean, and again, the reason, I mean, I don't want to be too emotional about this, but again, like this whole woke right thing is new territory for me.
Same.
I respect you for taking this on, because you see this as I don't want to assume, so I'll ask you this. Is your concern that the woke right is the same kind of Marxist communist level of what is it, subversion, but from the right side of the aisle as opposed to the usual left. Like we're all watching we're all facing left, right? From everything that we've experienced with the 4 years of Biden.
Yeah, especially
This
in New York and
pivot,
San Francisco.
But you being the vanguard, you've decided to turn and face the back and make sure that we're good from behind. Is that kind of where is that a good definition of what you're
coming
attempting
from
to do?
No, I didn't turn around though. But I see where you're coming from, and I'll say yes.
Like I mean, like the entire movement, like the
this
entire
is a flanking movement. It's coming in from the side. This is not behind us. This is something that's off to the side. And I don't think its intention is to win, although I think it would be happy enough if it did and they establish some kind of fascist bullshit where they get to be in charge. I think its intention is actually to be a foil that causes MAGA to fall apart. I think it's going to obliterate the authority that MAGA has conferred to Trump as a gigantic popular movement. You can see what they're targeting. They're targeting MAGA, they're targeting MAHA, they're targeting the broad coalition of people who are not MAGA or MAHA who voted for Trump. The goal is yeah, that's right, to shatter Trump's base. Like if the narrative were to get to the point where the primary public perception of MAGA was anti-Semitic, you probably would want to distance yourself from Trump.
Yeah, definitely.
If Trump's not doing anything about it. And I already know that's happening with a lot of Jewish people who voted for him. Well, imagine if there's a weird movement that appears out of nowhere that gets massive amplification on social media for reasons that seem unknown, that have provable high levels of bot activity supporting their accounts, that are pushing anti-Semitic messages in the name of MAGA all of a sudden. That's
or Trump supporting or that Trump's working to get a third term.
Or any kind of things. Who knows?
Because I'm noticing that too.
They're pushing that pretty hard.
Yeah.
Bannon was talking about Steve Bannon.
I don't like that.
I don't like it either. I don't like it either. Like as a matter of fact, I told people. I told some people in a private chat. I was like, "There's no reason to be messing around with the 22nd Amendment."
No.
I didn't like. Now, it's one thing to say something to keep the leftists discombobulated and dysregulated, right? Like if you want to keep them bugging out in front of Tesla dealerships and and attacking anybody in an electric vehicle, they're
usually attacking each other.
Yeah, they're usually attacking. Exactly, right. Like they're attacking like people who voted Democrat, right?
Yeah.
So like my thing is I just don't understand this stuff. And so I'm glad that you're at least taking this on and show, and at least, but I'm kind of trying not to lose my train of thought here. This whole thing about Trump getting working towards the third term, to me, it sounds like garbage. I don't like to even joke about that kind of stuff. Not necessarily for the purposes of shit posting. I don't like it just for that. It's like you're giving them ammunition to lose midterms.
And what do you gain from that, anyways? What is
exactly? What do you gain?
They're just going to give them fuel for being fascist and Trump. You couldn't trust Trump. Can't trust MAGA. Can't trust Republicans. They're going to take his third, fourth, fifth term. They're going to take over the country and be fascist. Why? Where's the juice for this squeeze for this? Like, what do you get out of that?
I think that the point is to undermine the movement, honestly. So I'm not sure Trump's leaning into it. It suits his personality. So I don't really know what to do with that. He's usually playing some kind of 4D chess or something. I think he is with Canada, which I also don't like what he's doing with the 51st state crap. But as far as the woke right goes, I don't know about with Trump, but just with the woke right, just one more kind of interesting point. If you doubt that they use the struggle session we were just talking about as one of their tactics, go to my replies. Anytime you want on Twitter, go read what people say to me. Literally 24 hours a day, any tweet, doesn't really matter which
I've
one it is.
gotten some of those.
Yeah.
Jews or Israelis. It's a lot of Jewish stuff usually.
Yeah. They'll come after you for liking me too. They'll come after you and say, you just go with it.
I don't care. Fuck them.
I agree, but I'm just
coming
saying
after me.
It's the same
You
struggle.
Want to come after me? Really?
I hope
these guys.
Right.
Bring up. Oh God, I'm sorry. The thought of that
That's
just
fine.
gets me really, really excited. James, I appreciate you, brother. I really do. Are you still good or
I'm still
you
good.
I had a couple real quick questions for James before he leaves, Isaiah. I know Isaiah's got some, I mean, James got some times, but something from his book. So you mentioned in the short version chapter, right? The Marxification, the summary chapter, that I think you said that you meant this. You said that you wrote this section for lawyers that may want to fight this, as far as like, you know, the Marxification, the Freirean takeover of education, and how it you know, it's an offense on the First Amendment, it's a violation of the First Amendment, which you might want to talk about how that is as well, because I think it's true, and it's crazy that more people don't know about this. But has anybody taken up that fight legally, like in a serious way? And if so, what's been the progress of this?
So actually, what I said was that I originally wrote the skeleton of the book was written as an amicus brief for a lawsuit. So somebody had taken up the legal fight first,
Okay.
and then
I
I
see.
wrote the case that actually critical pedagogy is not what people think it is, and that it's derived from Marxism, which is what they asked me to write. And in fact, that as it derives from Marxism and presents a overtly religious worldview, a liberation theology worldview explicitly. In fact, they call it prophetic. They say that the purpose is to build the kingdom of God on earth, that it should be disqualified under
like
establishment. What's that?
You said like it should be you should be reborn in like an Easter or something.
Oh yeah,
like that.
every individual
Very
and teachers in
religious.
particular need to be to die to their old selves and be reborn in their own personal Easter.
Yes.
So I really focused on some of the stuff that these guys said. And then I presented the case that it should be considered in violation of the Establishment Clause, if nothing else, because it actually is a religious construct posing as an educational construct. The short version, it turns out, after I wrote my amicus brief, which was not so brief, it wasn't as long as the book. The book is that original amicus brief where it's got expanded out and it's 3 times as long. So it's still, the original was long. They asked me to write a 2-page summary of the entire argument, which I was like 2 pages to summarize a whole book. Okay. So I wrote that and I just stuck it at the end as a short version. And that's a Spaceballs joke for people who don't know what
I didn't know
refers
that. I've seen it, but I forgot about that. Yeah. So there's been no progress with that, like with the legal fight?
The case actually, the other side on that lawsuit, which was a lawsuit against social emotional learning in Tennessee schools, the other side pushed and got the case, got the suit dropped by the court, so it didn't really go anywhere. Yeah,
so I think it should have been clearly.
It may be too early still for people to be able to convincingly make the Establishment Clause argument to get this stuff out of the schools, but it absolutely applies. I think it's actually, clear cut. What we're seeing is more and more court cases, and I haven't been keeping up with this in the past few months, so maybe some more have come down the pike, but we're seeing some of the appellate courts, the circuit, Sixth Circuit definitely did this. I think the Fifth Circuit did it, but I can't remember that one for sure. And I think the Sixth Circuit did it twice, not once. And there might have been one other where they've actually affirmed on the pronoun issue specifically that it requires an affirmation of a worldview and thus the imposition of a worldview to force people to do the pronoun thing, which when they say that it's worldview, now you're dipping your toes into Establishment Clause territory. So what it's done so far is protected professors and teachers under religious liberty with very, very strong rulings, particularly in Merriweather versus Shawnee State. Very, very strong wording in that from the Sixth Circuit Appellate Court. But what you don't have is a firm ruling that this constitutes a worldview and therefore has to be scrutinized under Establishment Clause jurisprudence.
It's unfortunate because it should be. What would you say like the parents can do to fight this stuff in schools? Like, what's the best way for us to get involved in general? Because I think this like more parents need to know about this first of all, but that that schools have been taken over by public schools, even by a Marxist radical Marxist activist philosophy.
Yeah, the first thing that parents need to do is protect their kids, which very well may mean pulling them out of the schools and figuring out another pathway. Private schools, even religious education, might be better, and they might not. You're going to do a lot of work and a lot of vetting, and they might change out from under you very quickly. I know some people who have their kids in a Catholic school, and they were calling me like a week ago, telling me how freaking woke the Catholic school is. So
Crazy.
and that's all within the past year. It wasn't there before, and now they've brought it in, and so that can change
Paul
very
Rossi,
quickly.
that we were talking about.
Yeah, the elite private schools in
Grace
New York
Church.
are
Yeah.
case studies
And
of
Francis is
hyper woke.
Pope Francis was
Yeah,
woke too,
well,
isn't he?
true.
Or kind of
That's
woke.
true.
And
The
he's a
better the
Frarian.
school usually means it's more woke, at least in
That's-
San Francisco. Like
that's
the
right.
more expensive, the more elite, the harder it is to get into, the woker it is.
Yeah, they service the elite colleges, so of course they are. And so first thing parents need to do is protect their kids. Second thing parents need to do is they actually have to organize locally. If you don't organize, you can't do anything. The left has understood this, and community organizing is why they've been so successful, even though their ideas are crazy and dangerous and very unpopular, and people actually understand them. There is the lying and the trickery, but they're organized. So parents have got to be willing to not just show up to school board meetings, but they need to create or join. It could be a Moms for Liberty chapter or whatever, but they need to create or join a local parents organization that will make it so that when they go to school board meetings, like 20 of them go at the same time.
Yeah.
And so you have a person who's speaking, who's getting better at speaking and showing up and talking or whatever from one meeting to the next, or you have more than one that are going to be able to go up and speak. But then you have a whole crowd of people. The left always has a crowd of people who are hooting and hollering and cheering for whoever speaks on their side. And usually it's like one guy on our side who nobody cheers for, and some people might boo. So what you've got to do is you've got to bring your own cheer squad. You need that organization to know when the meetings are, to know who's going to speak when, to get some training under your belt for how you're going to present, to organize so that if you have 4 or 5 people speaking, that you're going to hit this, I'm going to hit this, and you can have a more comprehensive case. All that organizational stuff. So parents, if they're going to show up, they need to show up, but they need to be first willing to organize and create even if it's just a loose organization that meets in coffee shops or whatever, to chat and or in a Signal chat group online, and they barely get together in person. In person is so much better. But because you get everything there, the connection, the sense of camaraderie, the hashing it out like this is infinitely better than hashing it out by text message. You're talking, you're bouncing ideas, you're
100%.
cutting each other. Yeah. So people need to organize. And then when they're organized, they got to put that organization into action by showing up and actually speaking up intelligently, getting educated and sharing resources about the issues, being willing to go talk. I know it's uncomfortable. I know they're going to go after your kid. You need to be ready to pull your kid out if they go after your kid. But you need to start asking the teacher questions. You need to start asking the principal questions. You need to start asking the school board questions if it's public schools. You've got to start being somebody who's making noise, because if you're not making any noise, nothing's going to happen. Well, they might target my kid. Well, then it's time to jerk your kid out of there and homeschool or something.
Could you sue them? You think you can sue them?
Also, you should be ready to sue.
Yeah. Do they go after
Consider yourself as a potential plaintiff if your rights are violated. Yeah. So, 150 years ago, 200 years ago, it'd be like, I demand satisfaction, slap somebody in the face with a glove, and you gotta go shoot each other with pistols at dawn, right? We don't do violence anymore. We sue each other. We've taken violence out of our society, but the way that we settle disputes where we can't amicably talk it over is through lawsuit. So lawsuit, if you want to put it in a different way, is our form of, within our system, our form of, in a sense, military action. So you have to be willing to put yourself through the trial and expense. Every person I know who's bellied up to that, win or lose, and a lot of them have won, has become somebody who's making a big difference in whatever community they end up in. A lot of them don't stay. They get their rights violated in California and move to Florida, for example, to get the hell out of there with their kid and protect their kid. So you got to start thinking about, how are you going to protect your kid? How are you going to get organized? And thanks for bringing it up. How can I be a potential plaintiff if my rights are somehow violated? We're going to win through replacing personnel and lawsuits. You can also dig into what's going on and expose it. If there's something corrupt going on, somebody's going to have to do the investigative journalism to figure that out. Somebody's going to have to get the video that shows what's going on, that causes people to stand up and say something.
Yeah. Evan, you want to say something?
Well, I was just going to say, if you're in a private school, you almost have no options, because they'll just kick you out if you say
That's right.
anything.
Wow.
But if you are in a public school, you have more freedom to go and speak your mind and try to push for change. But the scary thing for me, and just talking to other moms with older children that are in the Bay Area that are also concerned about these things, they've told me stories about their own children becoming like bullied at school because of what their parents are doing, right?
Terrible.
So then there's like this whole other layer of like, well, you want to advocate for your kid, but at the same time, you don't want to create the situation for your child to be socially ostracized at school. So it takes like just an incredible amount of courage and strength. And I think it's so much like James said, it's so much easier to do it if you've got a crew of other people that you're close with and that are willing to also back you up. As you were saying that, I was thinking like, well, who do I know in San Francisco that would actually, if my kid were old enough to be in school and if he were in public school right now and I wanted to go, voice a complaint about something they were teaching him, I don't think that there's anybody in my social scene right now who would.
You don't think there's
Yeah.
any
Real
like
good in
undercover conservatives or undercover
I
moderates?
think that
that
the
are
social
anti-woke?
pressure here is just so intense and so strong that even if there are,
They're too scared to come
they're
out.
just terrified. Yeah, because it's like these people go after your job, they go after your
kids.
your spouse, your kids, and so yeah, it's hard. It's like I feel like it would be, especially in a place like San Francisco, it's because it's self-selection. Like people move here to get away from people that have thoughts like me and you.
Interesting.
You know what I mean? Like people spend a lot of money to come here to be in a bubble to get away from people like me. And so it's just very I don't know, it's hard. But I think if you can change things in San Francisco, if you can change things in New York, like you can change the entire country. This is kind of like where
It's ground zero.
It's really where these debates should be happening.
Well, I know there's people there. I don't know who they are, but I know people nearby. But figuring out who those people are, whether it's by attending, in your county or neighboring counties, Republican meeting or whatever, just finding out who's there and starting to build that network is definitely the first step.
Yeah.
I know there's a bunch of people in New York. Like New York,
There's
is
Facebook groups too. That
San
you might wanna
Francisco's
look at.
scary.
And those kind of things.
James, if you
local Republicans and stuff,
James, let me know who those groups are. I want to connect with them here. Since I'm right here in New York. I'd like to actually speak with them if they.
Well, there's Young Republicans. You ever seen that? Isaiah, Young Republicans chapter in New York City.
Yeah, I've seen them.
That's one of the things you can look
I'll
at.
rap to them if I
We should probably go to one of their events. These days.
Last thing I wanted to ask you, James. I saw that Eric Weinstein, who like a Titanic guy, on social media, one of the great thought leaders of our time, said this. He said, "Things I got wrong, one in a series. When I first heard the term woke right, I frankly thought it was extremely dumb. Then I thought it was a minor issue. Then I thought it was absolutely the wrong name for a real thing. Then I thought, even if it is the right name for the real thing it discusses, we should still call it something else. Then I just thought, well, sometimes James Lindsay is pretty annoying. I don't love eating crow in public, and I never said any of this on the record, so I can get away with not apologizing. But I was wrong. Sorry, James, for reasons both unbecoming and mysterious, I seem to underestimate you on a regular basis. My bad." That's massive. Could you give us some backstory behind that?
And props to Eric Weinstein for admitting that, because you don't see enough of that online when people.
Yeah, that is big.
I know Miss Melissa Chen also seconded that. So props to you, James. You're out front of this like you usually are. So well done.
Yeah, well, I mean, like he said, he hasn't said any of this publicly. I've actually talked to Eric about this a couple of times, but only since he's had his change of mind. So this, while the tweet itself, I didn't know he was going to do that publicly. The sentiment he expressed to me over a month ago, so I already knew he felt that way. and we had a nice conversation about it. But yeah, there's a lot of people who thought either I'm annoying or I'm over determining things or I've lost my mind or I'm just some kind of on some weird right wing troll arc. And then I've gone crazy and all this, or other people who thought just like Eric's kind of progression. It's not happening. Okay, it's happening, but it's not important. Okay, it's happening and it's important, but I don't know what to do about it or whatever, the usual woke progression, who have realized that I'm describing something that's significant and real. What its actual purpose is and its scope is still undetermined. I've used a term that is challenging. So one of the things Eric told me, and I hope I'm not exposing too much here because it was said when we were speaking privately about this about a month ago, was that it took him understanding when the word woke in a more general way. So he's also a mathematician and I'm a mathematician. So we generalize things. So when he stopped thinking of woke as specifically a left-wing race, sex, gender, sexuality, maybe Marxist kind of ideology, and he jumped up to this victim mentality, cancel culture, special insight into the world by means of being marginalized and oppressed. And so he generalized what it means to be woke. It immediately clicked for him, is what he said. And so he understood that what I was doing was using the word woke in a way that wasn't familiar to him, that does not mix with the way that was familiar, does not mix with the word right. But the way that once he generalized it, he realized anybody can be woke about anything. You could be woke about nationalism. You could be woke about your religion. You could be woke about anything. It's because you believe you've woken up to a secret knowledge of how the world really works with
spiritual in a way.
Yeah, that's right. Well, it is. It's right. You've woke up to the conspiracy theory that people like you are not being included on purpose. And everything gets built off of that. And so once he made that generalization step, he was able to understand what I meant by it. At which point, what he told me a month or so ago was it's not only a good term, it's exactly the right term. In fact, it's the necessary term. And I don't know if he's willing to cop to that publicly or not, or maybe he's changed his mind since then. It was just in the moment. But I have kind of gone on that same arc where at first I needed a term to describe a thing that I was seeing. I didn't create the term. I used the term other people were using that I thought had rhetorical value and that was kind of right. I understood woke in a more general way, and so it fit. And then what really made me stick with the term wasn't particularly any of the fact of how accurate I think it actually is, but rather the fact that it made them get inflamed like I poured itching powder all over them. I mean, they go nuts when you call them right. They really want to be called something different. Yeah. So I was like, well, no.
not too dissimilar from when you started calling the woke left woke.
I resisted that for a lot longer than a lot of other people did. I was kind of the Eric Weinstein in that situation. Yeah. I didn't like the word woke. I liked critical social justice because that was very formal. It came out of their book. It's very accurate, and it just doesn't have the same thing. And so other people just started calling them woke because they were calling themselves woke. And I was like, I don't know if I wrote an article that was like, don't call them woke, but I know I didn't like it at first. And then it was sometime in late 20 or early 21, I started just caving in and started using the term woke just out of kind of convenience. And we went through all this then too. It was like, people were like, that's the wrong word. Don't call them that. It's not academic. It's slang. It's blah, 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 blah. And I'm just like, it'll figure it. So with woke right, I was like, I've seen this before. It'll simmer down. We'll see. This term will land on who it lands on, and it'll be fine. So I didn't sweat too much that people didn't like the word, but I said publicly a bunch of times that I don't like it. I offered a ton of different alternatives. I wanted the word woke in there though. Like calling them neo-fascists, I guess, is a nice, accurate terminology, but they're not all fascist in their orientation. So it gets a little more complicated.
But what I feel like you did though, and maybe this is why why people got as inflamed at you as they did.
No, they freaking canceled me.
I know. I saw it.
Who canceled you?
The conservatives.
Yeah,
the woke right got the conservatives.
How do they cancel you though? Because you're still
okay.
Doing it then, right?
No,
you're not.
I used to be invited to speak places. I don't get invited.
I see. Okay. So you're not invited to parties anymore. Interesting.
No, I'm not invited to any of the parties. You seen
Not
me at
even like
any
a
of those?
MAGA thing?
You see me in any of those pictures at the White House with anybody yet? No,
Yeah.
you haven't.
I was actually going to ask you, like, if you have any access to the Trump administration, because they
No,
can really use you as
totally.
an advisor.
I'm not just blacklisted. There's a halo of
Really?
radioactive around me. People who are too close of friends with me are blacklisted from the
That's
administration
Oh no!
because
That's
of these
silly.
sons of bitches.
He could really use you. And also, like,
And
I
people
don't
then come to me and they're like,
Good.
what power do they have? And I'm like, seriously, dude. They control who has access to the fucking White House. They control conservative media. They control the conservative movement. What power do they have? Are you out of your fucking minds?
I feel like Trump is, like, in a lot of ways,
They're
like, on the
about
same
to
page as
kill
you,
the
though.
Daily Wire because they don't want mainstream conservative values and voices.
Oh,
We're actually publicly debating whether or not the Daily Wire is going to survive, and they're launching attack after attack after attack after attack.
They found
day
a
after day
weakness.
after day.
They found a weakness, and I think I know who. Well, there are two weaknesses with them. That is so fucked. But I
That's kinda
think,
what the
but getting
left does.
it's
Yeah,
exactly what
definitely.
they do.
Definitely.
Yeah,
But,
as
but,
some-
the,
some
but
people-
the
Very
thing
woke
that
behavior.
gets me it's very woke behavior. But like the thing that I was trying to get at, James, is what you did, and so someone who's watching the show right now, Amon, he says James abstracted the term woke from its political entrenchment, and I think he meant extracted the term woke from its political
right.
entrenchment and rerouted it to a discussion of ideas underlying wokeness.
There's
I'm gonna
parallels, too. Yeah.
I'm gonna put it in a way that I can understand. You took a white collar concept, something that, you know, people in the academic realm understand and can, you know, and like it's rote for you guys, right? But you took that, James, put a blue collar word on it. You understood it. You made it simple for blue collar guys like me who are college dropouts, regular normies, and you made and you caused something that was already understood to be one thing in the mainstream, and now it means something else that exposes their movement. And that's that is why they're freaked the fuck out.
No, yeah.
And that's both left and right.
Yeah, Ho's mad.
Ho's real mad.
Ho's
real
mad.
mad. Yo, James,
you still got a friend with us, man. You still got a friend with Apostate
yeah.
Radio. You're not canceled here, brother. I respect the hell out of anybody who just speaks the truth as they see it, even if I may agree or disagree on certain things. So I respect
the idea.
you. Yeah, and you know
We're all wrong a lot. So
you're
what?
still invited to our parties.
Hell yeah, I'm coming.
Exactly.
Evan too. You're
Exactly.
invited.
Well, Evan knew that already. Evan
already knows that.
Evan,
You guys are the only friends I have.
Well, you know what? I thank God for you guys. I really do, and I'm glad that I'm really honored again, James, that you stopped by. What are you working on at present that we should be aware of?
I'm studying the hell out of the Nazis, so I got distracted from my other
Uh-oh.
projects. You know, I was writing a book. You asked me earlier about Maoism with American characteristics. I almost finished the first draft of that book, and then I just had to do some research on the Cultural Revolution, like proper historical research, and I just got sidetracked. And then the next thing you know, the woke right thing blew up, and I've just been studying Nazis. So I haven't come back to finish that one yet, but I'll probably finish that book before too awful long, and I'm going to keep putting out information on what the Nazi stuff was actually about. I've been putting out podcasts about Mein Kampf lately that are like where I go through Marx. Now I'm going through Hitler and letting people see what he actually said and what he actually thought.
How much of a socialist was he, James?
What's
like
that?
How much of a socialist was? Because I know the National Socialists is part of the name. Like, were they really like socialists, or something I don't know?
According to this book I read, this woman named Melita Moshman got sucked into the Nazi movement at 15 years old in 1933. And what sucked her in at 15 years old was believing that it was going to be a socialist program that was going to help all the workers.
Wow.
So at least a significant amount of what made it to people in the Hitler Youth was a belief that it was going to be very socialist. And I'm reading this other book.
Red Guard.
So that book was called Account Rendered. Now I'm reading this other book that's called They Thought They Were Free, where a Jewish professor went over in the 1950s and made friends with 10 Nazis and interviewed them about their lives. And it's very, very clear that they enjoyed kind of as everyday workers. These were everyday Nazis, not like soldiers or whatever. As everyday people in the Nazi regime, that they enjoyed a boost to their standard of living that kind of matches the socialist picture. And so you kind of have that sense that if you were a good member of the Reich, that there was going to be, XYZ coming down from the government, but you had to also toe the line. So but the model, incorporated also National Socialism was only meant, first of all, for the legitimate members of the nation. Hitler believed in 3 designations of people rather than citizen and alien, which is what most countries do. He had citizens, subjects of the state, and aliens. And so subjects of the state were treated identically to aliens, except that they were allowed to live without threat of deportation, but they were subjects, so they had absolutely no rights. So if you didn't participate in the Nazi program, you were demoted from citizen of the Reich to subject of the state, and you were basically treated like a resident alien. Yeah,
could you convert? Could you convert
Oh my
quickly and be
God.
like,
Yeah,
I'm a Nazi
you could
now,
you could
I'm
join the party, you could get right with the party or whatever, and,
So you just have
be
to
on the right side.
force-
Unless you
forced
were a
to
woman,
join.
you could only convert by marriage. You had to marry a good German man in order to be a Nazi in
interesting.
order to become a full
Holy
citizen.
shit.
And so this was his idea, and the
Jesus.
people who were considered citizens received a socialist treatment as opposed to everybody who happened to be in Germany. So the national part of National Socialism, it's not like it's very different from communism.
Okay.
In fact, he incorporated a lot more of the Mussolini thing. He talks at the end of Mein Kampf about Mussolini and how enthralled he was with the ideas of this great man coming from the South, but how he didn't quite agree with everything. But his economic structure was probably closer to fascism which is Mussolini's creation, than it was to Marxism.
Yeah, I was wondering about
are you saying Hitler actually perfected fascism?
No, he made fascism. Mussolini did fascism, really.
Yeah.
Hitler ran a fascist program. I wouldn't say he perfected it. He made it weird, actually. He got distracted. What Hitler thought the point of the state is the maintenance and purification of the race. So he kind of lost the plot that it might be about, I don't know, the economy or national security or whatever else. But no, the point of the state for Hitler becomes specific. And for Marx, by the way, the point of the state is to maintain class distinction and class conflict. But for Hitler, it was in fact to safeguard the purity of the race, which is this really kind of weird thing that seems like not the right thing to focus on.
I'd say so.
With your government.
Terrifying.
Wow. Well, I get it. It really is true. When you believe absurdities, you can commit atrocities.
It is similar to DEI in
my
a sense, though, where like the focus is like how diverse can we be? Like it's like maybe the opposite of it, but it's still
it's the opposite. It's how perfectly German can we be?
It's similarly ridiculous, though. It's like, how could that be the number one priority? Like, how many of this identity do we have in every single group and every single? It's like that clearly is not gonna help us much in
being
much
black.
Yeah.
Being black, as opposed to being politically black.
Yeah.
Being Asian, as opposed to being politically Asian.
So
that's what that is.
Crazy. Yeah.
Oh my God. James.
Interesting, James. Very interesting.
Oh my God, bro.
Looking forward to that.
James, again, you are always welcome in this space. I consider you a friend and a mentor. I am I am genuinely appreciative of everything that you have contributed to society and also to my personal knowledge of the world around us. So, my brother, I salute you. Thank you so much for coming on board. Thank you. And our mutual friend Adam Coleman says below. Yeah, that's.
Yeah.
Adam's got his new book.
I just got it. I got it in the mail today. I'm so excited to look at it.
We're gonna have him on.
There it is.
You'd have him on. Is it next week?
Yes, he is
Next week we're
coming
having him to
on
talk
the
about it.
show.
Yeah.
Yes, he is coming on the show next week. We are going to be discussing his new book, The Children We Left Behind, how Western culture rationalizes family separation and ignores the pain of child neglect. So yes, our mutual friend Adam Coleman will
Good
be
for him.
on the show next week. It
You
is
know,
a
he gave his first public talk at an event where I also spoke.
That's right.
No
I remember
kidding.
that. Actually
You can
remember
ask
it.
him about that.
I was like, oh
in
my God.
Wisconsin.
Yeah, he's I remember
Oh,
seeing you in a
wow.
picture with you, and I was like, oh, that's awesome. And you're with James Lindsay. That's cool.
That is so
Wow.
cool.
Yeah.
James, thanks again for coming by.
Yeah.
I really appreciate it. You can, ladies and gentlemen, you can follow this wonderful man at Conceptual James. Once again, Conceptual James. This man, again, I'm really honored that you stopped by, my brother. Thank you so much
Keep
for your
on doing the
time,
good work, James.
and keep
yeah.
fighting.
Speaking the
You
truth.
might be wrong sometimes, but you ain't been wrong a lot.
That's
Okay,
true.
and I'm saying that for real.
Keep being a
saying
gadfly. Keep being a
that's real
gadfly
shit,
for
bro.
the right, for the left.
That's real shit.
Pester
Thank
the
you.
shit out of them.
Thank you for having our backs as
Yeah.
regular people. Thank you.
Yeah, I got
Seriously,
your back.
straight up. Thank you, man. I
Got your back,
appreciate
brother.
your time, brother.
Well,
Thank
it
you
was
so
a pleasure
much.
talking with all yous, and pleasure to meet you, Evan. Pleasure to meet you.
Great
All
to
right.
meet you.
Take care, man.
We'll have you on
All right.
again, brother.
All
All
right.
right. Thanks.
See
God
you guys.
bless. Later.
Good night.
Yo, that was incredible.
That was awesome.
Absolutely incredible. Evan, I'm glad you're here.
Yeah.
I'm still here.
So we've I don't even know what to do. Like my mind is blown.
Is there
right
anything
now.
on your mind, Evan?
Yeah,
that you
well,
want to
yeah,
talk about?
this is what do you want to talk about?
I mean, my
Let's see
mind
what's
is kind
going
of
on.
blown. I'm like, God, wow, I can't believe I met that guy. I can't believe I was on a show with him. It's
He's an
been-
important thinker. He's very
He is.
important. He's kind of only known frequently by like the most nerdy people and
he's
in
pretty
the
well
pop.
known.
That's true. He is.
Like,
I know.
He
he's
is.
on
I
Rogan, like,
mentioned to
times.
someone tonight that I was
Yeah.
going to be on a show with them, and they
Was
were
it
like,
really?
"Oh," and, no, I just described him because I couldn't.
And they named him.
Yeah, and then the person
Interesting.
was like, "Oh, James Lindsay," and I was like, "Yeah,
Oh, cool.
wow,
I-
you know who they are?"
I can't
You
believe
know?
I just had him on. I can't believe
Oh, it's a
he's here.
huge honor.
Yeah,
It's a fantastic
I feel like
honor.
I can't
I felt like
believe
only
he's
people
so
in our bubble would know
canceled. Like,
him,
what
but-
could you guys explain? Like, what got him canceled? Like, why is he not able to? I didn't want to ask that to him. I didn't want to make him go through it all again. But do you guys know what happened? Like,
Exactly. I
why-
mean, I think it's him doing the whole woke right thing. He's been criticizing the quote unquote woke right for a while now. I think, right? How long has he been doing Isaiah? I think was it
At least a year or two.
Since
At least a year. Yeah, at least a
So
year
he's been
or two.
making enemies that way in the conservative side, or maybe not even the conservative side. Maybe it's not even right to call it that, but like the Tucker Carlson side, maybe the Groyper side of things. The more kind of, it seems like a big thing is anti-Semitic is really anti-Israel, anti-Zionist, anti-Semitic streak of those
Yeah.
people. It seems to be a major part of it.
Okay.
I've never. Yeah,
I'm not really in that world though, so I don't
same
know.
here.
I don't really pay
And
attention to it too much.
like the thing is, I mean, we went down a lot of rabbit holes tonight.
Yeah.
But for me, like I've always like when like if they don't sound like earnest people, okay,
Mm.
if they sound like they have some kind of agenda and they start to look like the people who we just got finished beating in the in the election, then that's a problem for me.
Yeah.
It always has been.
So
And
call
when-
it out. Yeah.
Yeah, and if it and like and my thing is like I'll give you just a quick rundown because I know you we're gonna wrap this up pretty quickly. When I first started seriously within DC United, okay, who lost yesterday in heartbreaking fashion.
Sorry.
Yeah, God. When I first started like getting serious, when I was started as a season ticket member, it took me about 2 years before I started commenting on the culture of like surrounding the club and really surrounding American soccer. Okay. And I did it, one, out of respect, and two, I wanted to make sure that I knew what I was talking about. I do not know enough about the woke right to have to have enough of an opinion on it. Okay.
Yeah, I don't even
but
care
I'm
to listen
glad
to him
that,
either.
right. But
You know,
yeah,
like,
exactly. Like,
I
I'm
don't
like, you're not like,
delve into horse shit.
but at the same
know,
time,
but it's important to call it out.
It's important to it's important for those who know to
Yeah.
call it out, and for those of us who don't know to understand, what that's about.
Sure.
We didn't really watch the whole. We didn't watch the
Yeah, we
whole
can get
thing
into
at all.
that too. Yeah,
Before we do, can we just give a shout out to my girl Jess? Can you guys say hi to Jess?
Hey, Jess.
Hi, Jess.
Say
How are you, love?
Do we know Jess?
Ciao, Bella.
Ciao, Bella. Okay.
Ciao, Bella.
Ciao, Bella. All right. So I guess we can.
Does Jess know us? Is she a fan?
She's watching. Yeah, she is.
Oh, hey,
great.
Jess.
Oh, thank you, Jess.
What's
Appreciate
going on?
listening and watching.
Great to see you.
Right.
So how about this? We'll watch that maybe on a separate stream, because I know because I really do want to get Evan's response.
Yeah,
to
we
this.
could do that. Yeah, maybe
So,
do like midweek or something too, if anybody's available.
Yeah,
down. Whatever.
Okay.
And even in the morning, Isaiah, I might be able to do the mornings too.
Yeah, because that's actually when I'm free. Like sometime like maybe a Tuesday or Wednesday morning or something.
That might work out.
Okay.
We should do a space sometime too, guys.
Yeah, we should. I agree.
I really want to do a space with you guys, and then maybe like one other person too. Or
yeah. Oh, we get a bunch of people in a space.
A couple other people. Maybe the Muppet.
Oh no, the blue. Oh yeah,
Muppet Edgar.
Blue boy, Edgar. Yeah,
Edgar and James.
Edgar and James.
That'd be great.
Oh no,
nice party.
Oh my god, that'd be a train wreck in the space. and well, mainly for me, because I'd be laughing the whole fucking way through. Oh my god, Evan, pleasure to see you as always,
Great
my
to
dear.
see you guys. Thanks for having me on.
Of course. And with that, I think we can go ahead and call it a night. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us here this evening. This has been a fantastic show, very mind-blowing. I want to give a special shout out. A lot to take in. I want to also give a very, very special shout out to one person in particular, and I'm trying to find because we got a gift from him, Mr. Music Creator.
END Techno Rave.
Yes, that man dropped. That man gave us a nice gift in the Buy Me a Coffee. Yeah. Yes, thank you so much, sir. It is greatly appreciated. Your memes are the best. And we really appreciate all the love. And
don't forget me though, man. You always see like hosted by Isaiah Card. It's like, Nasser Chavez hosted too.
Yeah,
don't forget about me. Come on, man.
No, don't. Yeah, please don't. Yeah, please don't forget about Nick. Don't forget it. You're
stepchild of this.
Nah, bro, you're cold. No, you're cold to Pete's. You're cold to Pete's. There you go. No.
I appreciate you, brother. Appreciate you, music creator.
Yes, absolutely. Listen.
Much appreciated.
We are very much appreciative of everything that you got, all the support, all the love. 7,440 people have stopped by in some way, shape, or form.
We got the James Lindsay bump tonight.
The James Lindsay bump. Yes.
Love it.
That man is amazing.
Yeah, awesome.
You can support us at buymeacoffee.com/apostate radio.
And uncancel James Lindsay, conservatives, MAGA, whoever the hell's doing this. I'm like, what's with this horse shit? Grow up, man.
Exactly. Enough of this.
That guy's a national treasure, man. He's done more for the movement, for anti-woke movement than almost anybody.
Yeah.
Listen. He's like Mount Rushmore of that shit.
There are three things that I stand behind. Four rather. 4 things that I'm like, I guess 5. 5 things that I'm just adding them up.
6.
I stand behind my love of the Baltimore Orioles, the Baltimore Ravens, DC United. I mean, like, come on. I stand behind the fact that communism is a pestilence that must be purged from the earth.
Mm-hmm.
And the last thing that I stand on is that James Lindsay has not been wrong about much.
No.
If there's anyone, if Elon or anyone within Don
President
Jr.,
Trump. I know Trump's listening to this. He's
President
watching
Trump,
this
I don't know
on the
if
toilet, and he's about to tweet.
if you'll ever,
Truth Social.
if you'll ever see this, guys, listen, we
Eat McDonald's.
need James.
Yeah.
We need James.
Put some
James
respect on
is,
his name, man.
I consider that man, if James Lindsay had not done any of the things that he did, I would not have known anything about communism that I do now.
Yeah.
The reason why I hate
that.
communism with such a passion is because of James Lindsay. It's because of guys like Logan Lansing. Shout to him. There's the guys like Michael Young, Vocal Distance. Okay. Shout to Michael Young. Michael O'Fallon. These are guys who are serious about the Constitution. These are guys who are serious about America first. If you want this movement to continue, and I don't mean to go on, I guess I do mean to go on a closing rant.
Let's go.
Let's
do it.
If this movement is to survive, if we are to push this country forward in any meaningful way, we are going to need all hands on deck. Okay? We are going to need everyone who knows exactly what it is, what knows exactly who an American is. We need everyone who loves the Constitution. We need everyone who is willing to stand against the machine state, because they are not done. You see what's happening right now. Trump ain't even been president for 3 months yet. And what do we have? We have total chaos in the streets. We have paid mobs going to Tesla dealerships and setting these Teslas on fire. We have people, we have insane, we have dysregulated Democrats going on television and sounding absolutely ridiculous. We have Tim Walz going on
Tampon Tim.
Yeah, Tampon Tim. This fucking guy goes and stands in front of a crowd. I guess he's trying to get his KD up for 2028.
He's wild.
But this guy is literally saying that we need a shadow government. A shadow government for when they lose elections. Are you kidding me right now?
It's crazy. He also thinks we need tampon machines in the boys' room. But
the very reason why he's saying that the machine state that Trump and Musk and even Steve Bannon and others, what they're working on to get rid of. We have judges literally standing in the way, or trying to at least, standing in the way of an agenda that's not even 3 months old that's not even 3 months in the offing. We are fighting against people who want these millions of illegal immigrants to stay exactly where the fuck they are, so that they can get congressional seats. Even if they don't vote, if they can't vote, they want them to remain here so that they at least have something to fight for when it comes to new congressional districts.
Interesting. Yeah, that's true.
We have people currently in office, currently in power, who are looking to take our free speech. They are looking to limit our movement. These bike lanes that I've been raging on, congestion pricing. These people literally believe that they are entitled to your money. They are entitled to your money. They feel like they are entitled to your money.
Yep.
And your silence.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Obedience. The one thing I can say that Tucker Carlson said something that was true, and I know we didn't. Well, I still respect him to a certain
Yeah.
extent. But the one
As
thing
much
that
as
he
he's being,
said,
if he's being, genuine, I respect him still, even if maybe he's
Right.
wrong about a lot of things.
but
go
the
ahead.
one thing that he said was, the only people who want you silent and want to control what you say, what you think, where you go, and who you and who you can talk to, they want to enslave you. That is the truth.
Oh yeah.
These
Mhm.
people, I have never been more convinced that the Democrat Party, both here in New York, in my home state of Maryland, and elsewhere in California, where you're at, the bottom line is these people are working to enslave the masses. They want total and complete control of your money, your time, what you see, what you say, what you think, what you believe, and they are willing to do it under penalty of the law. Look at what they're doing over
Control your
in.
kids too.
They want to control your kids. They want to be able
Groom 'em.
to violate your children.
Mhm.
They want to violate your children, and
Queer
and,
them.
and, and they want to violate your children. They want to turn them into good they want to turn them into loyal communists, loyal soldiers for the revolution, who will never question, who will never try to understand anything more deeply.
Yeah. Yeah.
We are
Fact.
dealing with some of the most evil fucking people on planet Earth. Okay? What's Keir Starmer as the Fabian, we talked about this earlier. We talked about this at the beginning of the show. These Fabian socialists like Keir Starmer and others over there who are literally turning London into the third world. I got friends from London. Okay. And what's happening to that beautiful city, that once beautiful city, is absolutely despicable. What's happening to the entire UK, where you had these brown, you had these guys come in and were saying that that a whole country full of white people was too white.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's
Do
crazy.
you understand what's happening here, ladies and gentlemen? We are dealing with some of the most wicked, most anti-human people on the face of the planet.
Mm. Mm.
It is time to stop messing around. It is time to get serious about the business of our country. It is time to get serious about the business of our lives. This is the United States of America we're talking about here. This is this is New York City, where I'm at. This is we're the land of a Pete's, right? Like this is real shit. Maryland is about, like, my home state of Maryland. Real talk. And again, I'm going off on a tangent here because this is just stuff that's been on my mind over the last couple of weeks. Last week, my mom told us that her electric bill was somewhere ridiculous. It was like almost $800. There's only 2 people that live in my parents' house in Baltimore. $700, almost $800 for gas and electric. And all that's because of what? Fees, higher taxes, capital gains, like what else? What more extractions are we supposed to take? We are dealing again. We are dealing with people. We are getting. No, Tim Pool had the right word. This is extraction. This is extraction. That's what this is. This is extraction. They are taking, think of it. They don't want you to own. Right now, you have places throughout the country where they're no longer building these single family homes so that you can buy, right? You get a mortgage, you sign up for a mortgage, you get it, and the place is yours. No. They are building entire communities for people to rent.
Yeah. Own nothing.
They don't want you to have it. Instead of going and getting a car loan, right? Instead of getting a car note, they want you and getting insurance, everything. Here in New York, car insurance rates are 25% higher than they used to be. 25% higher. And New York City's insurance rates are high as shit. Okay? But you know how you get away from that? You go rent a zip car. You go do some other car share program where you can merely pay for the service of having a vehicle. We are up against the most wicked entities in the world who want to take away, who want to get you to positively transcend your private property, whether it be your home, whether it be your car, whether it be the whole identity of being an American. They want your soul, they want your mind, they want your body, they want your kids. And unless we stop them in their tracks, whether it comes from the right or from the left, the bottom line is we have a duty to our country, we have a duty to ourselves, and a duty to our children, and a duty ultimately to the Constitution of the United States, which affirms all of our inalienable rights given to us by God. And so on that note, you got anything you want to add, Nick?
I mean, that was did you write that, bro? That was
no,
epic speech there, bro. That was well delivered. That was very well delivered. I gotta learn how to do that. Thank you, music creator.
Thank you, man.
Music.
Really
appreciate that. Yes, please help us out. We do need the financial support, and seriously, it was very helpful to us. But yeah, that was a great rant, man. Great speech, and 100%. I mean, like just real quick, what you said, it's like it's really they're going after what it means to be American, to be free. You know, it really is. I mean, it's like, you know, having private property, having the American dream, having the freedom to go about, the freedom to speak your mind, the freedom to educate your children as you see fit. You know, you name it. You know, but they're trying to push instead like this WEF neo-communist. You don't own nothing, eat bugs, and you'll like it. You know, and you're gonna believe what we say. Your kid's gonna be groomed the way we want them groomed. You know, you don't have to own anything. It's fine. Live in your little pod that we give you. You know, 15-minute cities, whatever the hell they call that shit. It's 100%. You know, a real problem. And like some people think that's utopia. Some people think that's the best future. Usually, those people are leftist progressives, Democrats, and in fact, they probably almost are 100% that usually. And if you don't like that, then you got to stand up and you got to fight it. You got to speak out against it. You got to get politically active. You got to spread the news, spread the word, let people know what's actually going on, and don't believe the utopian environmental bullshit where they're like, yeah, don't know, you don't get to own anything. It's fine. It's better this way. Shut up. No.
Yeah. Amon put this last thing. We'll leave with this. The woke right wants to take all these legit grievances against these evil leftists and use these points to create their own victim / oppressed narrative with a new set of heroes and villains and hypnotize you into a final solution for this according to their in-group bias. Keep your eyes peeled for false prophets.
Very good advice. Yeah. There's crazy people on both sides, man. You got to keep that in mind too. It's not just the left. Like, there's some crazy, wild charlatans on both sides, and you don't want to get sucked into that, man. You know, it's just nasty, ugly, misguided, and then it makes the whole positive parts of any movement stained. You know, like MAGA or whatever, or like people, conservatives really trying to protect the American dream, and then they get associated with freaking Nazis and neo-Nazis and all these people, and it's groypers and. You know, it's like, and I'm sure there's some people in the Democratic Party that actually want good things for the country and actually are, you know, they just have little left-leaning things, but they're trying to make things better, and they're tainted by the far left as well. We got to reject the extremes, man. In general,
we do
reject the extreme crazy people on both sides.
The only thing that matters is who is willing to uphold the Constitution of the United States of America.
Freedom of speech, freedom of thought.
That's the only thing. The First Amendment, the reason why the First Amendment is so important, the reason why it's the very first, free speech is the very first amendment in the Constitution, is because the founders understood that if you limit what people say, everything else falls underneath of it. Because if you can't say anything, you can't defend yourself.
Yeah, that's right.
You want to understand how that works? I'll tell you a quick story and then we'll go. Imagine this. You're in a couples therapy session, okay? And all of a sudden, this woman that you're with decides that she's going to leave you in grand fashion. So she decides to leave you, okay? Denounce you in front of your couples therapist that, mind you, was your idea to bring in, okay? And completely tells you, I'm gone. I've already bought the ticket. I'm out of here. Not even giving you that crushing silence, that inability where like you feel it, like you feel the words to defend yourself, right? The want to say something, and you can't, because you know you're in a situation where you're silenced. That's what it's like to lose your freedom of speech, to have a knot in your throat.
Yep.
To have a knot on to have a knot in your soul, to know that that something is wrong. You know that you're being lied to, that you're being fucked with, that you're being taxed into oblivion, that your children are being poisoned, that your food is poison, and that people like that's what that is. People that we are being taken advantage of and extracted from on so many different sides.
Same thing with the struggle session too.
Yeah, exactly. And the founders knew that if you are barred from speaking out by your government, everything else falls with it, which is why the First Amendment is so important. But the second Amendment is even more important, because it allows you, dear American, it allows you, well, I shouldn't say it allows, it affirms your right given to you by God to defend yourself against the tyranny of your government.
And your fellow citizens too,
and your fellow citizens.
Yeah.
Do you understand that is like do you understand the freedom in which you live, ladies and gentlemen? Where you can say what you want, you can defend you can speak openly that the government is corrupt, that the government that is supposed to be by the people and for the people is not working in your best interest. And if the government decides to turn its guns upon its citizens, you have every right to fire back.
And the ability to.
Fire back.
So you can't let them take the guns away. Yeah, 100%. Because then what recourse do you have?
Yes. I know I'm going off on a tangent, but again, this is the United States of America. We cannot fall to totalitarianism. Only the Constitution, only what is in the Constitution matters. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, I thank you again for watching, listening, however you are taking this in. The most inclusive. Yeah, I could go on all night. Really, this is the most inclusive flag, in human history. The most inclusive flag in human history is the red, white, and blue. There's no need for DEI sessions to understand what this flag means. There's no entryism. You don't have to write a fucking diversity statement. Okay. The only thing you have to do is put your hand over your heart like we did when we were kids, and say, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. That's all it takes.
Yeah, and to understand that Constitution and to be grateful for the freedoms that I don't know if any other country really has it in the world. But I just want to real quick want to echo what James Lindsay was talking about with the struggle sessions and why you don't apologize. You can't apologize if you didn't do anything wrong. If you didn't say anything wrong, you do not apologize. You do not apologize. You're like, nope. What I said was what I meant to say, and I have every right to say it. It was a very reasonable thing to say. You might disagree, that's fine, but I'm not apologizing. I didn't do anything wrong. And if you
Exactly.
stand your ground, and they'll call you all these different names and say you're not accepted anymore. But if you stand your ground, they'll realize after a while they just give up trying to fuck with you. They'll give up because they know they can't break you, they can't stop you. But if you do cave in and like, well, okay, well, I don't want people to kick me out of the in group, so I guess I'll just admit to being wrong, even though I wasn't wrong. It's like then they own you, they control you, and they'll toy with you, and they'll never respect you, and they'll always have a shadow of shame over your head of like, remember you said this? You better shut up. You're lucky you're still hanging out with us. That's how it works. So you always stand your ground if you know you're telling the truth from your heart.
You
Always.
Again, you wonder why I get so psychotic whenever and I take like the sledgehammer to a communist online, folks. That's why. If you break them in public, if you shame them, and listen, it's like the verse in the Bible says, resist the devil and he will flee from you.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Anyways, that's our time. Finally,
Don't get us started, guys.
Get some rest, good people, and see us next week. Again, we
Mr.
are
Adam B.
having
Coleman.
the wonderful Adam B. Coleman. We will be discussing his latest book, The Children We Left Behind.
Looking forward to
Also,
this.
there is the New York Post has just actually today posted an excerpt from the book. You can check that out at your convenience. I'll be, matter of fact, I'll post it on X tonight for everyone. So again, good night. God bless each and every one of you, and we will see you next week.
Thank you, everybody. Really appreciate you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, Isaiah.